Get ready for the next battle.
a lot of teams came in with a lot of preconceived ideas. England, early part of the summer, nip around 10:30 starts, but we haven't really seen that, not at any stage.
Might be different with the red ball, but not with these white kookaburra balls. Have been very, very. I mean, what we have actually seen is
batting first it hasn't been the choice. A lot of teams have decided to bowl, but actually 8 of the last 9 games in this World Cup have now been won by the team that bats first.
Thank you. Well, our team today here on Test Match Special, myself, Giles Dagnall, Natalie Germanos and Scott Reed, 2 Burnley boys on the commentary team. You can't say fairer than that. Paul Farbrace along with us, Mel Jones, and also Pommy and Bangla is with us here today on Test Match Special on 5 Live Sports Extra. Don't forget, in-play highlights are available via the cricket section of the BBC Sport website and via the BBC Sport app. And if you want to get in touch with us as well, you're more than welcome to do so at BBC TMS on Twitter. So we've just gone past 12:30, according to the clock, in 10:30, I should say. Sorry, everybody. It's not lunch break already. If you are listening at work, we're just getting the countdown. So 2 minutes after play was scheduled to start, and we're almost ready to get underway. Kagiso Rabada it is, with ball in hand from the Lumley end. And it's going to be Dimuth Karunaratne facing up. 2 slips in place as Rabada comes towards us. Oh, and this one is a shot. He's caught at second slip. First delivery. One just hitting off the handle of the bat and lolloping into the hands of second slip, and South Africa have a breakthrough very first delivery. Dimuth Karunaratne has to depart. He actually stayed there for a few seconds just wondering if the ball lifted or spat at him a little bit, but it's the extra pace, and Rabada strikes straight away. And what a start, and good morning to you. Lovely to see you again, Pommy and Bangla. What a start for South Africa.
Yeah, fabulous to see you too, Charlie. I'll tell you what, where was all of this at the start of the tournament? That's what they'd say, South Africa. They've turned up here, and a first baller. Yeah, it's exactly how you want to start.
Well, it surprised me. I wouldn't mind seeing the replay of this just to see if anything misbehaved or if it just lifted off a length or whatever. But Faf du Plessis, the easiest of catches at second slip, just really did balloon up and spoon into his hands. And Karunaratne, the captain, goes. Sri Lanka 0 for 1. And what a start we've got in the northeast.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a huge wicket because of, well, he's captain, but he's been pretty good at the top of the order and generally kind of looks to settle things up at the top and provides a nice foil for Pereira, who likes to get after it. So the fact that South Africa get Dimuth Karunaratne, it will no doubt destabilize Sri Lanka. Would have turned up here thinking, yep, job on our hands, but we've got high hopes because South Africa have generally been down. They have to get over some demons, though, in their head, because the last they met, yes, it was bilateral, and they lost 5-0. And they generally don't go so well against South Africa. So we have to see how it all pans out.
Well, Imran Tahir is getting a lovely hand from a cluster of South African fans who are waving a flag proudly just in front of him at third man. Just, I reckon we could throw a dart from us to him. He's about 30 metres away or so, just stretching and loosening up. Not going to be needed just yet. Avishka Fernando, new man at the crease, just 21 years of age. And he has to wait for Kagiso Rabada. 2 slips in place. The infield closes as Rabada bowls a shortish delivery, which just doesn't, it just sits up really. And Fernando was a touch early on it, and he just plays it with a cross bat out into the offside. Well, I have to go back, well, 4 years when we were together last on air. Over in Australia and New Zealand, Wellington.
Good memory.
Yes, Wellington was the I think it was the United Arab Emirates versus South Africa, where we were at the Westpac Stadium in Wellington when you were with us, and then you joined us at Auckland as well as Rabada comes in. Another short delivery. That's nicely played by Fernando, and it skips off one of the used wicket ends through the point region it goes. There's a chase on for 2 South Africans, one of whom just slightly slips as he picks the ball up. I think that's Rassie van der Dusen who's in pursuit of that.
Markram.
Is it Aiden Markram?
Yep.
Yes, he's tall and lean, isn't he? And a couple of runs, in fact 3 runs for Fernando. So he's off the mark, as are Sri Lanka. But I just wonder if Rabada, after that first ball, just lifted a little bit off a length. He's just tried to extrapolate a bit more bounce, and he's just bowled a fraction too short these last 2 deliveries. But to be fair to him, he's only 3 balls into his spell, so I think we'll give him that.
Yeah, the 3 also suggests, correctly so, that it's a very big ground. There's big playing area, and it's straight away through the field. It doesn't go off, even though it went across the square. It didn't go for 4.
Well, Pereira waits for Rabada, another short delivery, and signalled wide. Down the leg side it goes, and umpire Rod Tucker at the Lumley end of the ground, 4 for 1. But already, you can just see it doesn't seem like there's a huge amount of pace in this pitch. The lengths that Rabada has bowled, it's sort of just dying a little bit on its way to Quinton de Kock. But you're right, the dimensions, quite short straight, no one will have a problem with that, but it's widthways, much like sort of Cardiff as Rabada bowls. That's a better length, and forward comes Pereira, just nudging it back to the bowler, and there is no run.
It looks short, Charlie, when we're sitting here, because we're lower here, aren't we, than we would be in many places. We're sort of 1 floor up, if anything. But looking at the dimensions earlier, actually, it's an 80-meter hit straight. And, you know,
really?
Yeah, it's long.
Who's measured that?
It's long, and looking at it and looking around the ground, I think 84 is the longest hit, and the shortest is 66. So that's not short either, is it?
Rabada bowls, and this is turned by Pereira neatly off his hips down towards backwards square. Chase on, and it's picked up. A couple of runs added for Pereira. He moves to 2 not out off the mark. 6 for 1. I'm staggered by that measurement. I fancy getting out there and striding it myself. I just wonder.
I thought you were going to say striking one to see how far it would go.
Look, I don't think I'm out of school by saying that the pair of us were limited as batsmen, but I'm backing us to it.
I like the word limited.
Limited.
Yeah, I like it.
We had our range of shot as a short delivery is bowled by Rabada, defended out into the onside, and it concludes the over. So, end of the over, 6 for 1. Sri Lanka, after being put in by South Africa, Fernando is 3 not out, Pereira is 2, and I don't know. I think we'd both be happy striking it straight rather than maybe widthways here at Durham. Pommy, some more from you, and Natalie Germanos is coming in for the first time today.
Yeah, a nice start, ideal really if you're South Africa. Go back to the toss actually, and I'm a little bit surprised that Faf du Plessis would decide that he'd field first in this game rather than bat first. In playing against Sri Lanka, you know that it's their way to go. They prefer to bat and then look to try and defend a score if they can get one on the board. And perhaps South Africa sort of shying away from what has been a woeful experience for them in as far as the batting is concerned.
Well, they'll be hoping that they're obviously chasing then a smaller target. Chris Morris will open the bowling with Kagiso Rabada. He's done it before for South Africa. It's not unusual for him to open the bowling. He's had a good tournament. He struggled against Bangladesh in his first game, but since then he's been good. And his right arm over the wicket into Avishka Fernando, who's reaching for a wideish delivery, and it goes through to the keeper. 6 for 1 in the second over. Paul? Oh, Paul, listen to me. Phil?
Good start.
Sorry, my bad. Try that
The
again.
5th time in World Cup history there's been a wicket in the first ball of the game, the second in this tournament. Martin Gupta was also out first ball against the West Indies in Manchester 6 days ago. The other players, John Wright of New Zealand, Hanan Sakar of Bangladesh, Brendan Taylor of Zimbabwe, Martin Guptill, and then Karun Naratne today.
And then Imran Tahir, he picked up, was it second ball? Because it was Bairstow that he got. Roy faced first, and then he got Bairstow's first ball. 2 slips away at an edge off the bat of Fernando, who is on 3 at the moment. He's facing Morris. It's on his toes, and he clips it away through mid-wicket. It's going down towards the boundary. Tahir is after it. He should haul it in, but as you said, Pommy, this is a very big field, and they're going to get another 3.
They're horrible grounds like this when you're fielding. So if you're not fleet of foot and nimble, and you're continually having to chase absolutely everything to the fence because it doesn't quite get there, and they're a lot of 3s run, and if you're particularly slow you could have a 4 run on you, which is not very nice.
Well, Peter Kirsten has the infamous sort of moment in his career where he was run out running a fourth.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's a terrible thing to do. Running a fourth.
Yeah, it's lucky for whoever the fielder was, actually, because you don't want a 4 run on you.
Which is against Australia, and I think he was batting with his brother in Gary. Kusal Perera on 2 from 3, 9 runs on the board, 1 wicket down, 2 slips in place. Oh, he's trying to pull it, gets a bottom edge that goes straight into the turf and goes through towards Quinton de Kock.
Yeah, he likes to get on with it. Watching Morris, and he's not happy about something at the popping crease. It might be the fact that when you get to the creases, you run off the ground. You know, there's a little mound, or whether it's actually going up or going down, it can be disruptive for a bowler as he gets into his bowling stride.
We've got some sun out, which is good news for the South Africans. Halfway through the over now, as it's down the leg side. And it's collected nicely by Quinton de Kock, but it is a wide. 10 for 1. Good crowd in as well.
Yeah, nice crowd. And I suppose the persuasion of it, you know, today, yes, South Africa, many want South Africa to win, but in terms of the tournament, there will be many a Sri Lankan sitting there who is hoping that, you know, Sri Lanka can get over the line today. If there are any England fans or just neutral fans who have an English inclination, they'll be supporting South Africa wholly, because they want to make sure that England has that opportunity.
Fielders walk in with the bowler now as Morris is halfway through his over. It's outside the off stump, and Perera leaves. Perera, of course, had a wonderful tour against South Africa, in particular in the test matches in South Africa. What a series that was for Sri Lanka. But the ODIs, not so much.
Yeah, kind of quirky, I suppose. I don't know, it's just curious cricket, that whole series, the test matches and then the one-day series. And the one-day series, I can remember that they called their coach back home, didn't they? Because things weren't going so well, and they were supposed to be preparing for this World Cup. And in doing so, they... you know, people weren't playing well. They changed. It was Malinga who was captain, of course, at that time, and they changed captains. They kind of shifted things around.
There was something disturbing the batters behind the bowler's arm. So Chris Morris takes it upon himself to go and sort it out, and it's a big plastic dustbin that he had just to turn over, and that's why the crowd was clapping, because it was Morris who quickly leaped over the boundary and turn the dustbin over so we can carry on.
He'd have enjoyed that, just kind of get your mind off what's happening for a little bit.
Why not?
Yeah, no need to call ground staff over. You know what it is. It's not too far away either.
He'll send them the invoice, I'm sure. 2 balls remain in the over. Perera's on strike. He moves across his stumps and powers this away through the offside, down towards point. He jumped on that very quickly. 14 for 1.
I think he better get his mind back on. It's a good shot, though. He likes it wide. Yeah, he likes it wide. Perera, they'll know all about him. South Africa wanted to see the back of him in that test match you talked about. And in this tournament as well, since kind of being asked to be up at the top of the order, has played pretty nicely. Goes after just about everything, but when it's wide, he absolutely loves it. Throws the hands at it. Jayasuriya, a little Jayasuriya, another version of Jayasuriya. He's his hero, of course.
2 slips remain in place for Perera, who's on 6, facing Morris. This goes past the outside edge, squared up a touch, and it looked like it just squatted on him a little bit. He just seemed to get a bit surprised by the height of it. 2 overs gone, 14 for 1. Karunaratne, the man to go. He fell to Rabada, first ball. And Avishka Fernandez on 6 from 4. Kusal Perera 6 from 7. Avishka Fernandez, a very talented player. Enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, he does like to play shots. I think in watching him against England, what was good was that he was up against extreme pace, and it was kind of an instinctive innings. Yes, there's control in that, but it looked like he played instinctively, and on the day it was very good in terms of choosing the right shots. And watching him against South Africa when Sri Lanka was there, he seemed to want to try and get after it very early in his innings, and in so doing, on those South African pitches, it wasn't that simple, and you end up just popping one up into the air. So yeah, they hope that as he goes along for the rest of these games they have left, that he can choose wisely.
Both batters on 6 at the moment as Rabada bowls a short ball. Avishka Fernandez drives in the air for a time, but into the gap between mid-off and cover, and there's some interesting fielding done out on sort of almost towards the long off boundary by Piflukwaya. It was falling on it, 16 for 1.
Yeah, well, if all else fails.
Just fall, just get your body in front of it. Yeah, weren't you taught that as a kid? Get your body in front of it.
Nah.
Get your teeth in front of it, do something.
Yeah, do something, I think that's the one, do something.
Do something. Hasimam on the stands at first slip. Next to him, Faf du Plessis. Rabada's into Fernando and he drives. And it goes to the keeper. Nice length from Rabada.
Yeah, expectation. They're tufts of grass, actually. I say tough, it's a thick sort of covering. And you don't expect that it's going to do a great deal. But whilst this kookaburra is still new, there would be that little bit of grip on it. And so with a brand new ball, well, these kookaburras, I should say, because they're 2 new balls, of course, one at either end.
पंच लगाने के प्रयास में 4 रन मिलते हुए यहाँ से खिलाड़ी अविष्का को लगातार प्रहार जारी है जिस तरीके से ये शॉट लगाया छोटी गेंद दी बैकफुट पंच करके वहाँ पर 4 रन बटोरते हुए 20 रन अब तक लगे.
Square of the wicket, 20 for 1.
He plays shots like this, and that's why I guess you said you like watching him, and it really is good to watch. And it's a minimal movement, just get into position, and it's all timing through that offside. So yeah, good young player. What's he, 21 years old? Yeah. So a good future ahead of him if he can get himself going and kind of stay in this side. He'd do good things for them.
Rabada looking for his second wicket. Is over the wicket to Fernando, and he's driving straight. So straight it goes straight back to Rabada. 2 balls remain in this third over. South Africa won the toss, chose to field first. Had success straight away, but just watching some of the shots that have been played, the outfields, even though it's big, it's quite quick. You know, Sri Lanka, just see through this first period, could easily get up close to 300.
I think they'll be happy. They'll be happy with having been put in.
6 runs from this over so far. Fernando drives and misses again. Every now and again he does that, though, where the hands go so far away from his body.
Yeah, in watching him, there are 2 shots. There's the one he's just played where he just kind of wafts at a length that's fullish, as long as it's sort of 4th and maybe even 5th stop, trying to drive on the up. He likes to do that. And then there's when the ball's just back of a length, he tries to pull it. And it's a short arm jab pull, which he sometimes chooses wrongly with.
Fernando on strike again, facing Rabada, and he's trying to turn it to the leg side, and it only succeeds in popping it up, just back up the pitch. 3 overs gone, 20 for 1, Fernando 12, Kusal Pereira 6.
Yeah, so I reckon in bowling at him, you kind of would go back of a length at the moment. Rabada, because the ball is swinging a little bit actually, is trying to be full to try and get it to swing away. But you'd be looking at 4th stump, even though normally you'd say to guys, oh, you know, don't go 4th and 5th because you want to be straight. To many guys, they like it wide. With Avishka Fernando, I reckon you don't mind there. And you also then want to go slightly back of a length sometimes. And if you do, he might try and go across the line, and working against the movement that's going in the opposite direction could get out.
How tech savvy are you?
Tech? Decent, not good, but decent.
I think Ebony Rainford Brent on the BBC team is probably the most tech savvy person that we have.
Okay.
And I reckon Scott Reed is probably the most tech savvy-less person we have on the team. Morris over the wicket into the left-hander, who ends up throwing his hands at this and manages to get it over the top of backward point. Hasn't quite timed it, but it's going to run towards the boundary, and he's going to pick up 4 square of the wicket. Pereira, that's how he plays. He moves to 10, 24 for 1.
Loves, I say again, loves it wide. And if it's wide, throw the hands at it, throw the kitchen sink at it. That's what it do. It hits the ball really hard and has provided some nice starts, nice innings up at the top of the order for Sri Lanka. This is good. Just some tempo to the innings. The fact that a few deliveries are going off to the fence, it'll help a great deal. And once they get a good start, as you said, then obviously they'd like one of the 2 to keep going, but a score on the board would be so good.
Pereira on 10, short mid-wicket in place now as he clips it away to the leg side, straight towards square leg for a single, or as a misfield as well, but they don't go through for an extra. 25 for 1. So, Mr. Scott, was having a problem with his phone.
Yeah.
He lost his contacts. They just like disappeared.
Right.
And he didn't really know what to do and how to get them back.
Right.
And
let me ask whether you just don't you like back up
well,
stuff and
okay,
you
so
know,
this is the,
and
this
then
is the
you
thing.
kind of just restore from a certain point, like you would with your laptop, right?
So they were going to actually just write down the contacts on a piece of paper, kind of thing. Him and Phil thought this is the way to go. This is the way
Phil!
forward.
Are you being thrown under the bus, Phil?
Morris to Fernando's on 12, and he's defending away to the leg side.
I knew that wasn't the answer.
But it seemed okay at the time.
That's right, yeah.
Charles Dagnall came to the rescue at breakfast this morning. His contacts came back, but Daggers did ask him, well, maybe you need to back it up, and said to him, do you have cloud, iCloud? Use your iCloud.
account,
That's
yeah.
where you can get it from. And he said, what's that? He says, where do I get that from? Daggers says, no, you can buy it. So he said, what do? Do I go to the shop to buy the iCloud? Morris into the right hander. Fernando's on 12, and he's clipping down towards fine leg for a single, and he'll move up to 13 in the fourth over. Sri Lanka 26 for 1.
I'm hoping that you're going to say somebody sent him to the cloud shop. Right? Somebody did, surely. I mean, you can't let that one slide by.
Oh,
You've got to
goodness.
go to the news agents. Go to the news agents, ask for an iCloud, I don't know, voucher, something.
I think we were also shocked that we couldn't believe what he was saying. That's the cloud shop. What? Fernando on 13 at the moment, off 12, and he's patting this out into the offside towards cover. Well, Dagnall happened to sort of fix up his phone for him and show him how to back it up, and that it will always now back up, and that it's going to sync to other things. And he said, well, when you put it in your computer, and he says, I don't put it in my computer. I don't have a computer. What are you talking about? He said, no, he's got an iPad. So I said, you've got the iPhone and the iPad, but you don't know how to sync it up and the cloud. No, he had to set up an account for him and stuff.
Yeah, I don't feel so bad now.
You don't?
No, I'm all right. I thought I was really bad with tech.
Last ball of the fourth over, Kusal Pereira. Oh, he's chasing a wideish delivery. He thought he could get some good bat on this again, but it goes through to the keeper. 4 overs gone, 26 for 1. Fernando is on 13 from 12, and Pereira is on 11. Morris has completed 2 overs, and he's gone for 14 runs. Yeah, I reckon Mr. Scott Reed is probably the most tech-savvy list person we have on the team. I think we need to get him together with Ebony Rainford Brent, who's going to teach him a few things that'll help him out with his tech stuff. I think she'll be able to teach him quite a bit. Mel Jones has come in to replace Pomi Mbangwa, and I'm going to be replaced by Scott.
Thanks so much, Nat. Now, we were listening in the background to all that conversation, and I don't think the two of us together, Scott, is going to be a great combination, because as Nat knows, I lose things. I'm a loser of items constantly. So between my losing things and your IT skills, we should never do Amazing Race together, let's put it that way.
It would never get completed. No.
We'd provide a lot of entertainment, though.
I got a bit of stick then, haven't I?
You did.
I did.
It's okay. We've got 30 minutes to get them all back.
I feel my ribs have been bruised there. 4 overs gone, 26 for 1. Fernando 13, Pereira on 11. Lively start here at the Riverside in the northeast of England, the home of Durham County Cricket Club, on a beautiful sunny day. First game to be played here. 2 more matches to be held at this venue. And Phil is alongside me.
Yeah, you mentioned lively starts, Scott. Sri Lanka, for all their problems they've had during the tournament, starts haven't been their problem. They hold the highest power play first innings and second innings in this tournament. They made 79 without loss against Afghanistan first innings there. In the second innings, when they were chasing against Australia, 87 without loss.
Here comes Rabada to Fernando off the back foot. He's just punching to wide mid-off. And there is no run. Well, that's perhaps one element then of the Sri Lanka side that has worked neatly, because I watched them in the first match against New Zealand, and they were well and truly beaten. And if you'd have said to me after that first game they played of the competition that with 2 to go they could potentially go level on points with England, I would never have believed it.
No, correct. And you probably think the same about England, starting well, then the same sort of, and that's the beautiful style of tournament cricket, isn't it?
2 slips away, Rabada bowls, Fernando again forward, just steering it to mid-on.
I was at the game against Australia, and the oval deck, it played reasonably well. You didn't have to adjust your game too much at all. What I'd love to see from Sri Lanka, and I think the coaching staff have been saying this in the press as well, is about their batting group collectively stepping up and just reading the play a little bit more. This pitch, as much as it looks quite wide and it feels quite firm, I don't think it's coming through overly quick. So can the top order of Sri Lanka keep that momentum going in terms of that high strike rate, but also assess the pitch and get through that tricky phase?
Fernando waits. Rabada balls. That's a good delivery. That beats him all ends up. That has gone past the inside edge. It's beyond the reach of de Kock and down towards the boundary for 4 byes. I think that jabbed back in sharply. Cut the batsman in half. It moves Sri Lanka on to 30 for 1.
And that's exactly what I'm looking at here for Sri Lanka. That's an overly aggressive shot, a driving shot on a pitch that is still doing a little bit. And that's where I probably think, I look at Australia with Warner and Finch at the moment, and I think they've assessed. That's why they're hitting so many runs at the top of the order. It might not look pretty at times, but it's effective. They just get through this tricky patch where the ball is nipping around a bit. You can't play big, expansive drives like that on a pitch like this early, unless it's really, really full.
Rabada over the wicket balls, back of a length delivery to Fernando, up onto his toes, steers that down to short third man, gets a single, moves to 14. The score advances on to 31 for 1. It brings Pereira back on strike.
And I think for Sri Lanka, they've got to be as happy with a shot like that, where they've assessed it, they've ridden the rise of the ball, got the single, and played it off the middle of the bat, done everything right. I think they've got to get as much enjoyment out of that as a big tick the box as they do to the big, cover drive over the top of the inner circle and get a boundary from. So, I suppose it's assessing success out in the middle and what can get you into the best position past the power play, which they've done well, and then so they can own overs 11 to 40, which has been their downfall.
Pereira waits, 1 slip in place. Rabada balls, he gets forward, just squeezing into the offside to the right of mid-off, shuffles through for a very cheeky single, moves to 12, 32 for 1 with 1 ball left of the 5th. Is that sometimes a difference between the very best sides? The ability to adapt and to adjust when you're out there, kind of learning on your feet.
Big believer in it, massively. Because you look at it, we're at a World Cup. All these players have spent years upon years of training. They've all done the 10,000 plus, repetitive motions for each and every skill set that they've got, and they've ticked all those boxes. Exceptionally skillful players right across the teams.
2 slips back in for Fernando. That's driven beautifully. That's 4 runs. Gorgeous looking shot by Fernando. Punch back down the ground, up towards the very straight long on boundary for 4 runs. He moves to 18. Lovely way to end the 5th over. It takes Sri Lanka to 36 for 1 after 5.
You can't tell me that the likes of Quinton de Kock and Faf du Plessis aren't as skillful as other players in other teams. But I think when it comes down to it, often is the ability to read the conditions, read the opposition, and it's that mindset ability, isn't it? Here's my game plan, but it's probably not quite suiting things at the moment, so I just need to shift gears a little bit and just navigate my way through tricky periods. Now's my chance to launch, because I know I've got good results against this guy. I know what he's trying to do to get me out. I feel as if I can capitalise here. All those decisions being made throughout the game in terms of your tactical awareness of things, I think is a massive shift between teams that are doing well and teams that aren't.
The thoughts of Mel Jones here at the Riverside up in the northeast of England, with Sri Lanka 36 for 1, 5 overs gone. After a lively start to the game, the Sri Lanka captain Karunaratne caught by du Plessis at gully off the bowling of Rabada, the very first ball of the match. And Sri Lanka having to piece things back together again. Pretorius replacing Morris, and he bowls to Pereira, and that's just flicked off the pads to square leg, and there's no run. And
I think the perfect example is all those players that you see at first class level, whether it's men's or women's cricket, and they look fantastic, don't they? As if they look $1 million, and they will definitely play for their country, and they might get that opportunity, and they get opportunity after opportunity and just can't quite grab it. And everyone's like, well, why can't they quite grab it? And I think because everything about them is good.
Over the wicket bowling, attempts to pull that Pereira, trying to swat it through the onside actually, and then rehearses the shot, but in the end he played over the top of the ball through to Quinton de Kock, and there's no run.
And then you look at some players and you think, how on earth are they playing international cricket? Because they just don't, whether they don't look pretty or they don't look as if they've got the complete game, yet they've got the ability to find a way, and I think that counts for so much.
What makes the sport so fascinating, isn't it? That when you think that something shouldn't work and it does. This is worked off the hip by Pereira out to backward square leg. And he gets through for a single, just a little flick off the hip down to backward square leg. De Kock sprints up from behind the stumps to field, but Sri Lanka add a run to their totals. They're halfway into the 6th, 37 for 1, Pereira 13, Fernando on 18.
And I think we first probably started looking at it with someone like Shivnarine Chanderpaul, when that really open stance, and everyone's like, what on earth is he doing? This isn't cricket, this isn't right, it's not going to work. Yet it worked for him.
Yep.
You know, at the end of the day, he got into a position when the ball was being released. It was still pretty side on anyways. It was just that he did a lot of other stuff, funky stuff before it.
Hear a lot of coaches now, don't you say? You know, if it works for you, then just progress with it. So don't try to alter people's actions or approaches or stances or styles. If you have something that works, then stick with it.
Bumrah, perfect example.
Absolutely. There's Pretorius right on over the wicket, bowling a fullish ball, but down the leg side. And Fernando just tries to flick it down to backward square leg, taken by De Kock, who just moves a pace to his left. The ball just flicked to the thigh pad of Fernando. And it's been signalled by the umpire, who just taps his right thigh, and there's no run. The field is one slip. There's a third man, quite a wide third man. There's a deep square leg. So the two fielders outside the circle. The offside is pretty packed, including a short extra cover. Over the wicket again, off the back foot, Fernando, just moving it into the onside up to mid-on. But there is no run, 37 for 1.
And I think one of the biggest changes, just to continue on that discussion, is I think IPL cricket and the T20 franchise cricket, with a lot of players from England, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand going into the subcontinent and learning a different way about playing the game. We've always, the coaching manuals have been pretty standard across our countries, haven't they? High elbow, full face of the bat, strong top hand, all these sorts of things. Then all of a sudden they start having discussions with other people who have been coached differently and still getting good results. And they're like, oh, you can use your bottom hand on drives.
Pretorius bowling over the wicket. Forward comes Fernando in defence. Straight bat, playing it safely back down the pitch. And there's no run. That's the over complete. Just a 1 run off it. 6 gone. 37 for 1. Pereira 13. Fernando unbeaten on 18 here on 5 Live Sports Extra. It's in-play highlights available as well via the BBC Sport website and app. We're set fair for a very pleasant day weather-wise. Some blue sky, a few clouds, sunshine here.
You're not allowed to mention clouds because you've been thrown under the bus about clouds today. So. It's just blue sky.
Mel, you promised to be on my side.
No, I am.
You said to me at the back of the box there, don't worry, when we're on together, I'll be on your side.
Yeah, I've got a few stories about Nat Germanos, so don't worry. We'll bring them out over the day.
Rabada in and bowls. Forward goes Pereira, just pushes to mid-off, and he sends Fernando back. Think about taking a single, but it was pushed straight to mid-off, and the right decision was made to send Fernando back. Dot ball to start the 7th over.
They've made a few right decisions so far. I was a little bit, sort of a bit of an eyebrow raise with the coin toss with South Africa bowling first. Chris Morris opening, I think, was a good change. And Giddy hasn't sort of set the world alight, hasn't got wickets in the power play. So how do they do that? They've done that today with Rabada.
He's in, bowling again. Clipped neatly off the pads by Pereira. Through square leg, along the ground. And he jogs through for a single. Takes along his score to 14, and now Sri Lanka 38 for 1.
And it's amazing how just a couple of decisions can really set your whole World Cup path on one direction or the other. And I think you sort of look back at Faf's decision, coin toss decision against Bangladesh, and you think if he'd gone the other way, how would that have shifted South Africa's journey to this point? But good decisions today so far.
Du Plessis' second slip as Rabada bowls off the back foot, punched beyond. Oh no, good take at mid-off, a tumbling dive. Felakawea low down to his left-hand side with a very good piece of fielding for South Africa, and that's appreciated by his teammates as well.
And again, I'm sorry to harp on it, but it's little things in the game. The shape of that shot was absolutely bang on. Hit the ball at the top of the rise and didn't try and be overly expansive. He's more than happy to say, right, for that shot, I've learnt from previous ones where I've gone really expansive. I'm just going to pull it back a little bit. Happy to get the single, happy to get up the other end.
Rabada comes in towards us and bowls short ball. And that's signalled as a wide, banged in short. Down the leg side, De Kock skips a few paces to his right to take it. Score moves on to 40 for 1. Pereira remains unbeaten on 14. Now, I've watched quite a bit of Du Plessis' press conferences, and he has looked like a man that is carrying a weight of a team that is clearly not playing well. I'm sure a nation that's extremely frustrated about what has happened through the course of this World Cup so far. He looks like a man with plenty on his mind, unfortunately. Rabada in, the low full toss, which is cracked through the offside by Pereira, out towards deep extra cover. And that's 4 runs, just enough on that to weave the ball in between short extra and mid-off and out towards the boundary for 4 runs. Pereira to 18 and Sri Lanka are 44 for 1.
Got into a good position again. Not a lot of foot movement, as we know that's the style in which Pereira plays, but a nice solid base, and again didn't try and overhit the delivery. He knows he's got pace to work with from Rabada. It was all about placement, and he got that bang on as well.
First little flutter of a Sri Lankan flag as well in the crowd. Rabada bowls, and that's clipped off the pads to deep backward square leg just for 1 run. Pereira moves up to 19 now. Score advances on to 45 for 1.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, with captains of sides. That if you're a captain for a length of time, there's probably going to be a patch where the team isn't performing overly well. Not too many teams go through, long stretches of success.
Unless you're Ricky Ponting.
Yes, but even that can create, its own little issues down the track or within the group, complacency and the like. And I often wonder where the mentoring is for the captains of sides.
Rabada bowls, again back of a length delivery to Fernando, just pushes away from his body into the offside and gathered at short extra cover by Markram, and there's no run. End of the over, 7 gone, 45 for 1. It's the kind of who looks after the psychological state of the captain, who manages the manager type of thing.
Well, in a little sense. I mean, it's interesting. I know that there's sports psychologists within the teams to help players and all those sorts of things, but you have a batting coach, you have spin coaches. I just wonder if the national bodies actually set up support mechanisms for the captain, leading into tournaments, during tournaments, post-tournament, because it's a tough role. It's not an easy role. Everyone in South Africa is eyes on this team over here. You try and stay away from reading things in the press, but things filter through at some stages. And it's a tough ask for a guy out in the middle.
Victorious ball, and just onto the leg stump of Pereira, clipped and into the onside, just in front of square for a single. Pereira now moves up to. It was Fernando moves up to 19. Sri Lanka 46 for 1 in the 8th.
And if anything, it's the ability, I guess, of being able to switch off, particularly for captains, because Faf du Plessis out in the middle, completely on as soon as he wakes up in the morning for the game, right through to the end of the day. Then, there might be travel and training and all that sort of stuff, but your mind is just constantly thinking about everything to do with this team.
Pretorius comes right on over the wicket and bowls, and that's worked into the onside by Fernando, again just off the hip, out towards wideish mid-on, where it's gathered by Tahir. Shuttles through for a single. Fernando to 20, 47 for 1. We're in the 8th. That's a wicket of Karunaratne, first ball of the game. It was a lively start if you were late into the ground and in the queues, waiting patiently to access the venue. You may well have missed it, or perhaps she's getting an early morning coffee, thinking, oh my word, what's gone on so quickly? There's Pretorius balls again to Pereira, and there's no run, just worked up to Tahir at mid-on. It was the first ball of the match. Du Plessis at gully. Karatna just kind of drop his hands almost.
It just came from nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah. Thick, hit the glove really and looped up to Du Plessis. Took an age to leave the field, the Sri Lankan captain. He couldn't believe that.
It was just a weird shot. At the end, it was like he wasn't. He thought he was just running in for a little practice run, I think, and he went, "Oh, it's on me. Get away from me."
Pretorius bowling. That's a good delivery as Pereira tries to swat it through the onside. The ball just squirts out to the off, gathered by Markram again off a little bottom edge of the bat, rehearses that shot. And I think it's been given as a leg by, that he has, yeah. Just tries to work it through the onside. It hit the thigh pad, just deflects out to point. Pereira remains on 20. Score moves on to 48 for 1. 2 balls left of this over. Pretorius replacing Morris. That was the first bowling change of the game. Big man moves in again and bowls and swatted down to fine leg this time. That should be 4. It is. There's a long leg, almost at deep backward square. It brings up the 50 for Sri Lanka as well. Fernando just helping that on its way. Just drifted onto his pads. It's backed on ball. And that disappears down towards the fine leg boundary. For 4 runs, Fernando moves to 24. And Sri Lanka have brought up their 50 with 1 ball left of the 8th, 52 for 1.
I was having a chat to Steve Rickson before the game, assistant coach of Sri Lanka, about how Sri Lanka goes about this post their big win against England.
Pretorius bowling. Just going to work it into the onside. There's an appeal there from the bowler, started by the captain in the slip. And it was a sustained long appeal by Pretorius, but then eventually slumped on his knees there as the umpire says not out. Think for a second or two about the possibility of a review and decide, probably wisely, that there's nothing in there. 8 overs gone, 52 for 1, Pereira 20, Fernando unbeaten on 24.
And one of the conversations we had was about the South African team. You know, they haven't performed well, no chance of making the semi-final, and he said, you know, for a team like this, it's about, once they get on the roll a little bit, of trying to quash that as quickly as possible. And I think that's exactly what Sri Lanka have done. The wicket, the very first ball, they would have been up and about, and they were probably thinking, right, here we go. But slowly but surely, Sri Lanka have just found a way, and you can just sort of sense that they're just getting back on top here. And that's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for South Africa, is that seed of self-doubt. We haven't been able to get ourselves out of situations where we're controlling the game for long periods of time. And that will be the challenge here for Sri Lanka today, to get the 2 points and keep themselves in the hunt for finals.
Well, you know better than me, Mel, that conference play is just an absolutely fundamental part of the game, isn't it? And if you're going into matches and you just don't believe yourself that you can win games.
Yeah, it's a weird sensation in all sport, isn't it? Or life, you know, you feel confident getting into work, and you've had a good day the day before, you feel so much better to make the right decisions.
We see Peflequeo coming into the attack, replacing Rabada from the Lumley end of the ground. The Castle out towards our right-hand side, flag fluttering on the roof. And then bowling, and this is cut off bent knee, sliced into the offside by Pereira, out towards deep point, where it's fielded by Van der Dusen. And a run there for Pereira. He moves to 21, 53 for 1 in the ninth. Lumley Castle out towards our right-hand side.
I wish I was staying there.
So I've eaten there. I've never stayed there. I've eaten in the restaurant there.
Oh, okay.
It's quite
nice.
It's quite nice.
Yeah.
Was it Shane Watson that thought it was?
Yes.
Haunted?
Yeah. I think there's been a few people stay there that
I felt a
little bit of presence.
felt a presence after a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Slip in place as Fernando waves. He just works again through the onside, just in front of square for a single. Takes him to 25. The score now moves on to 54 for 1.
There's a hotel that we usually stay at in Taunton called the Castle, depending on where you're from. And it was fully booked last year, so they put myself and Ishiguro into, it's a little, it's a beautiful old school, it's probably built in the 1300s, residence right next door to it. But it is old, and it's large, a little creepy.
Peflequeo in and bowling, just back of the length and clipped off the back foot, just swiveling back into his crease, Pereira, but not beyond short fine leg, no run.
And it had 3 levels to it, and there must have been 10 different rooms in there, so it's probably about 4 bedrooms, but it was all, because it was so old, it just, you know, doors led from room to room to room and all this sort of thing. So there was just the 2 of us in there for the first night, and we were there for 4 nights, and it was just me for the rest, because Ish couldn't stay there. She got Rich, her husband, up, and they went and stayed at another hotel. So I said, no, you're fine. You off you go.
You'd sleep with the light on, did you?
Yeah.
Peflequeo bowling once more, and Pereira again, just working it leg side, just a fraction in front of square, and gets a run for that. Moves to 22, 55 for 1. We're in the 9th here at the Riverside.
So I'm just saying she's not a team player, Ishiguro. I'm just putting it out there.
She's abandoned you to the...
That's it.
To all the creaks and the sounds and the unnerving noises of an old hotel. I must admit, this ground has my 2 favourite ends. The Lumley end, where you can see the castle out towards our right, and the Finkel end, which I gather dates back to a monastery here from 13th century, which there's a monastery called the Finkel Monastery, which is just on the outskirts of Durham, and that's what the Finkel end relates to. So I quite like the 2 ends here, the names of them. Peflequeo bowling a fullish ball, and Fernando steers it again off the pads. And a good smothering stop by Morris at short fine leg, just outside the 30-metre circle.
I think that's something we should start, is at grounds with the ends. We should ban anything that is the northern end or the media end. I reckon that's just poor.
Yeah, it's just too boring.
Yeah, correct. You've got to have something a little bit funkier, because then you remember it. You actually know it. You go, oh yeah, I got that.
Final ball of the 9th. Pereira waits. 22 not out. 56 for 1. 1 slip in place. Peflequeo over the wicket and bowling. Driven off the thickish edge, though, just to the left of short third man. And he shuttles through for a single. And that's the end of the over. So 9 gone. 57 for 1. Fernando 26, Pereira on 23. And a change in the commentary box. Mel, after a few thoughts, he'll be joined by Charles Dagnall.
Daggers, absolute pleasure as always as he manoeuvres his way in so smoothly as he usually does. Liking the look of Fernando. Played in one of the warm-up games early doors, and then we haven't seen him during the World Cup. He's got an opportunity. He's coming off a 40 the other day. He's got another start today, and maybe he's just what Sri Lanka need the second half of this tournament, just to manoeuvre themselves into the semi-finals. Daggers.
How about that? What a start. Especially after a photo. Good morning.
Morning.
By the way, great to see you. And especially after the first ball that, wicket was taken first ball. Oh, you off?
Yes.
It's been lovely.
I just wanted to say hello.
What a stint.
Bye-bye.
Pretorius continues from the Finkel end, and it's down the leg side, signalled wide by umpire Ravi, and another run ticks on to the total. 9 overs gone, 58 for 1. Fernando is 26, Pereira is 23. But yeah, I was just mentioning as Paul Farbrace takes the seat next to me, that after that first wicket, which took us all by surprise, I have to say, everyone, it was almost like we're all, both players and commentators and fans were all half asleep and waking up. And since then, Sri Lanka have been devastating as a 4 is collected by Pereira, and I like that, a little punch of the air. He's picked up on one that was pitching on and around leg stump from Pretorius, and he just tickled it past short fine leg. It's poor bowling, if I'm honest, with short fine leg in position, and only just needed a feather of an edge, and he's played it gloriously. And 4 more runs to Sri Lanka, 62 for 1. And good morning again, Paul.
Good morning, Charles. How are you? You okay?
Yes, all good.
Very smart today. I do like the jacket.
Thank you very much.
But it's all to shame.
Well, dress right, talk right, etc. Pretorius bowls, and defending out into the offside is Pereira. But Sri Lanka really have. They've basically ignored that first ball, and they've played with aggression, a great deal of skill, and just the demeanour at the crease from both Fernando and Pereira has been fabulous.
They're both such positive players. I think both of these are outstanding players. They struck the ball cleanly. They got in good positions. They haven't looked to force it. They've just played good, strong cricket shots.
Pretorius, shirt untucked, away from those bowls and cut away just into the offside. There is a deep point in place for Kushal Pereira, and so he's managed to just thread it through that gap in the infield and pick up a single. Sri Lanka won't mind that at all. 63 for 1. Brings Fernando back on strike.
He looks to hit very square the wicket, Kushal Pereira. He's got, you're right, they had a deep point back. They have a deep square leg as well. So you've got to be really careful with your line if you bowl to someone like that with the fine leg up inside the ring, as we saw the previous ball, just tucks it away off his pads past the short fine leg.
Fernando waits for Pretorius, gets picked up gloriously through the onside, lofted over straightish mid-wicket, couple of bounces and into the rope it goes. And again, it's the wrong line from Pretorius. Right hand, left hand not helping him whatsoever, and he's angled it into the leg stump, and just a lovely flick of the wrist with plenty of elevation to get it over the top of the infield. 4 more runs for Sri Lanka. They move to 67 for 1.
I think you're absolutely right about the right-left-hand combination. They found it difficult to control their lines. It's very easy when you have 2 right-handers, 2 left-handers. For a bowler, you like to settle in new bowlers to bowling to the same-handed batsman, if you like, the whole time. But this is tough for them.
Slip still in place for Pretorius as he comes in. This has been lofted high in the air now. Opportunity of a catch mid-off coming around, and it has been taken high above the head, and it's the end of Avishka Fernando. That's such a disappointing end as well. Another catch for Faf du Plessis, the South African captain. The second Sri Lankan wicket falls, and he's just tried to make use of the final over of the power play with the field up inside the ring, and he just toe-ended it. It went too high, and it's the end of Avishka Fernando. He goes for 30, and Sri Lanka 67 for 2.
It's a poor dismissal on a good pitch. He will be kicking himself all the way back to the pavilion here. That's a really, really poor dismissal. They've been no trouble whatsoever. They play good, strong cricket shots. It's a good pitch. They've allowed the ball to come on. They've taken advantage of the South Africans not being able to control their line to the right-left-hand combination. And Avishka will be so disappointed. That really is a poor dismissal.
It was 100 there for him today. And that's what I'm sure he'll be thinking as he walks off, because they'd already taken 10 off the over. And now granted, we're in an era of one-day cricket where if the ball is there for it, then doesn't matter that you've already got 10. Why not get 14, why not get 18? But
if you play the ball on your merits, which you're absolutely right, that's what you're talking about. Play the ball on the merit. That ball is a good length ball, probably around middle stump, decent length. It's not a half volley, it's not a short ball, and he's tried to force it over mid-on, and he's just given his wicket away, and that's given South Africa a bit of encouragement, and it also just sets Sri Lanka back a fraction, and it's such a disappointing dismissal.
Well, we've got a pair of crucials at the crease, Mendes and Pereira, and he has come out because of Fernando's departure. 1,700 one-day international runs, an average of 28, which for a player of his quality as well, he'll want to improve on over the course of his career. Only 78 runs in this Cricket World Cup so far for Kushal Mendes, but still young yet, 24 years of age, and taking his guard to... And this was the other thing. Pretorius was down. He's got a wicket from nowhere there, wondering where his next delivery was going because he'd been straying leg side to both right and left-handers, and that's when you give a gift to a bowler like that, completely changes his outlook. Well, the infield closes in as Pretorius runs into Mendes, who leaves one alone outside of the off stump, and through it goes to the keeper. So only gentle pace, 80 miles an hour from Dwayne Pretorius, and he is successful. Now got one in the wickets column. 10 overs gone, the power play over, or the first power play is done, and Sri Lanka 67 for 2. Pereira 28 not out. Mendes yet to get off the mark. What a wonderful day here in the northeast, and the castle looks just completely different to our right hand side when bathed and drenched in sunshine. The St George's Cross flying proudly at the top of it, just over in the distance to our right hand side, with the river just separating the ground and the castle, but wonderful sunlight around the ground. And now, save the top tier of the stand to our right hand side, it's pretty full here at Chester Street.
It's amazing what they've done here to this ground, isn't it? They really have done a fantastic job over a period of time. It really is a proper cricket ground now.
Very much. Still got the gym over in the distance as Pelaqueo comes in, bowls a bouncer, pulled away, and goes out to deep square. Good control actually from Kushal Pereira, making sure that he got his hands over the top of it and rolling his wrist, making sure the ball stayed down, but good effort from Pelaqueo to get it as high as he did. Another single taken, 68 for 2.
I actually played in the first proper game here on this ground.
Did you?
Middlesex second 11 against Durham second 11. We had a barbecue the night before, about 1,000 people at the Ramside Hotel, and then there were probably 3,000 or 4,000 people here when they put the stumps up on the first morning. We actually changed in the score box away to our right. There were no changing rooms. We changed in the score box, and we used to keep the holes for the various numbers. Now it's difficult. The box and start the numbers in. And then watch if you have a head stuck out watching their game.
Bowls and a wishy-washy. Managed to lay that on it. So the score box that is in situ now, is it the old sliding numbers? I'm trying to remember, because it was an enormous thing at one.
It was,
It was actually bigger than it is now.
Definitely, but both teams changed in the score box, and Toby Radford and Jason Pooley walked out to bat first. And Jason said to Toby, "You can have first honour. You could be the first bloke out on this pitch."
His fellow Quayo towards as he comes, and round the front pad he plays. Kushal Mendes down towards fine leg. He'll pick up his first runs, but the yelps from Pelaqueo and de Kock behind the stumps just tell you that was probably quite a straight delivery. Just in danger if he didn't connect, but he did. And it's 69 for 2. Because none of these stands originally were here at all. I'm with you. I played in that first season of when
it was a tough
Durham
pitch as well when it first.
It was lively, wasn't it?
It was a tough place to keep wicket on, I can assure you.
Well, it was that. They sort of spat or kept low as a wicket beds in. That's why they didn't immediately play first team cricket here. As Pelaqueo comes in, bowls forward, comes Kushal Pereira defending out into the offside. Because originally, when Durham first became a first-class county, they used the racecourse ground, the university ground.
That's right, absolutely.
Fabulous place to play cricket, by the way.
Great place there. Great place.
Next to the river. And Durham, I believe Durham Cricket Club is just behind that as well. Just down the road, along the river. But the university ground, that used to have a little bit of pace and bounce as well. Many a great player has played university cricket there as a shortish delivery, doesn't really get up, and an attempted ball by Pereira just wraps him on the pad, signalled leg by umpire Tucker, and another one goes on to the Sri Lankan total, 70 for 2.
Say bye-bye.
What year would that have been then, Farbs?
On the running.
It would have been 1990. Crikey.
Phil Long. Tap your computer.
3-4, something like that, maybe
Yeah.
5-3. No, 3-4 probably.
But yeah, it was a similar situation with the Rose Bowl, the Aegeus Bowl, as Pellic Wayo comes towards us from the Lumley end. Ball's on the top of off stump, and it's defended stoutly by Mendes. Out it goes into the offside. It concludes the over. A good one from Andili Pellic Wayo, just the 2 runs and the leg by coming from it. So 70 for 2 after 11 overs here on Test Match Special on 5 Live Sports Extra. Up here at the Riverside, myself, Charles Dagnall and Paul Farbrace, just going back in time to when these relatively new, and you say relatively new grounds, this has been used for, what now, 25 years or so.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of when you look at county cricket and the traditional grounds of around the country, still babies, really.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? Really? They've done it's a shame they obviously had their little blip a little while ago, because they've done such a great job, built up a good ground, and brought through a lot of England international cricketers.
Pretorius continues, ball's on the leg stump, it's turned by Pereira, just off about hip height, perhaps into the onside, and another single picked up. He moves to 30 from 33 deliveries. Good from Pereira and Mendes. They're just going to try and keep the scoreboard ticking over whilst Mendes gets himself in. Positivity without doing anything overly dangerous. 71-2 the score. It is a good start. It's a good platform for Sri Lanka. It's that loss of Fernando. How dearly he'd like to have that shot back. There's Pretorius with 4 in the offside ring, 2 on the leg side, 1 slip in place. That's Hashim Amla, hands on hips, big green floppy on the top of his head as Pretorius approaches. Bowls on around the top of off stump again, but that's worked nicely down to third man by Mendes very comfortably. 72 for 2. No real pace in the pitch, no real demons either, it would seem. Quite an easy pace pitch.
Looks a good pitch. It looks a very, very good pitch. I mean, I think there's been a lot of discussion, hasn't there, about during this World Cup about the pitches. You know, they started a lot of grass on them. They didn't do a lot, and 1 or 2 have been a bit slow. They've had no sunshine. The ground staff at the various grounds the last couple of weeks have had no sunshine.
Pretorius, and he's bowled inside edge onto the stumps. Again, a wicket from absolutely nowhere for South Africa, and Kushal Pereira has to wander back to the pavilion. Another 30 is made, and Sri Lanka now 72 for 3, and South Africa are delighted, and rightly so, because 2 wickets have been achieved from fairly innocuous deliveries from Dwayne Pretorius. This one on and around, it's a decent line, off stump line, but a thickish inside edge onto the pads, onto the stumps, and fortune not smiling on Kushal as he wanders back to the pavilion. Pereira goes for 30 and Sri Lanka 72 for 3, and now a spot of bother.
Well, you're absolutely right in what you just said previously, that a wicket from nothing. It's a poor shot. It's just a length delivery, angled across the left-hander, and his feet are nowhere. He's not really got anywhere. He's just tried to nudge it into the offside. It's just not positive footwork. When you talk about batsmen being positive, there's been a lot of chat about the England team and the positivity of the way they played. Positive batting means just getting your feet and your body into a good position. If it's a good ball, you can defend it well. If it's a poor ball, you can put it away. If it's a goodish ball, from being in a good position, sometimes you allow it to come, just knock it into the gap, get a single. He's done nothing there. And the last 2 dismissals, Fernando and Pereira, they've just given South Africa their wickets. And you're right, another 30. 30s don't win games.
No.
30s don't build partners. They had a great partnership. They played really nicely. Dimith Karunaratne was out first ball. The 2 of them have built a really nice partnership between them and played really nicely. And then 2 poor dismissals have allowed Pretorius to pick up 2 wickets. And as you're saying, he's bowling 78, 79 miles an hour. There's no real pace. He's just looking to hit a length.
Well, 72 for 3 the score, and Angelo Matthews strode out from the pavilion to our left-hand side down the stairs with a great deal of purpose. Obviously feeling good about his game at the moment after an excellent innings against England up at Headingley. I have to say it was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because we were there, we were watching and thinking, well, Angelo, come on, mate, get on with it. You know, he judged those conditions to absolute perfection.
He did. I said that to him this morning. I actually saw him this morning. I said, I was getting stuck into the other day, batting a bit slow, but actually he got it right, didn't he? Played really nicely in that game.
He's a lovely man. Spoke to him after the game was completed. Well, he waits for Pretorius, his first delivery, and keeps a little low, but he watches it right onto the middle of the bat as he turns it to square leg. And now, obviously, the change of impetus in this game with South Africa. Now, really, the body language all different. They've got 2 wickets from nowhere. They're into the middle order. They've got the main man in Angelo Matthews. And if I'm being brutally honest, from probably the most unlikeliest of sources in Dwayne Pretorius, as he runs away from us, shirt untucked past the umpire, and Matthews defends. And this is where South Africa also will want to settle in a little bit, just force a bit of a squeeze for 5 or 6 overs, put some pressure on them, try and restrict the scoring.
Absolutely. I can't decide at the moment, watching Pretorius, I can't decide whether he's deliberately running his fingers across the seam or whether actually on release he just breaks his wrist a fraction and comes down the side of the ball.
Pretorius, 29 on his back in gold numbering as he bowls a full delivery, and Matthews forward, walks after the shot, just plays it out to mid-on, and it's the end of the over. So Pretorius's analysis looking a lot brighter than it was after 2 overs. He's now 2 for 19 off 4, just 2 runs and that wicket of Pereira in that previous over. 12 overs gone, 72 for 3. Mendes is 2 not out. Matthews yet to get off the mark, and they've got to start again almost.
Absolutely. And that's the tough thing. You know, you've got 2 players in, they faced 8 balls between them, 2 runs between them, and when you've got a man in and playing nicely, it allows you, when you come into the crease, the new batsman, it gives you a bit of time, get the pace, get the bounce, work your way in. When you've got 2 batsmen at the crease, you're in a vulnerable situation as a batting team. And the fielding side then, they up the ante. You know, you can just see that there's a bit more about them in their body language in the field. They feel they've got a chance here.
Pelaqueo continues from the Lumley end, bowls outside of the off stump, an attempted cut by Mendes. Out into the offside it goes, doesn't quite time it, and it goes to backward point and there is no run. Phil, did you find out what day or what year the first ever game was played on this ground?
So 1993, work on the outfield and playing surface began. First class game was Durham versus Warwickshire in May 1995.
So therefore, it would have been 93-94 when the second teams would have played on here. As Pelaqueo comes in, bowls a full delivery, turned around the front pad by Mendes, smartly as well. Into space, there's a long chase for South Africa to try and stop this going to the boundary. Will they do so? No. And that teased Fielder going out from square leg to the boundary for a long time, sprinting after it, but it was sweetly played by Mendes and a boundary for Sri Lanka, 76 for 3.
But when you see that, as a coaching team in there, the Sri Lankan coaching team, when you see the ball slightly offline, in towards the pads, just tucked away with a nice strong cricket shot, fast outfield, fantastically rapid outfield, you don't need to play the 2 shots that they played previously to lose their 2 wickets. That will make it even more frustrating.
Pelaqueo, his response, very straight run up, strongly built man, bowls outside the off stump, and it only goes through at about shin height to Quentin de Kock, who's not far away at all from the stumps. You could argue that 1 or 2 keepers might fancy standing up in this particular scenario, but he's staying back for the moment. But he's not really getting up. There's no great deal of pace. There's no demons in this pitch.
It just looks a very nice wicket. It's even paced. You know, they're only bowling at 78, 79 miles an hour, so you're not going to see the ball flying through at chest height anyway. They're just skillful bowlers getting the ball in the right place.
Pelaqueo on the round off stump gets defended on the back foot by Mendes, out into the offside, and there is no run. Now that ring of fielders in the offside lurking, it's up to Mendes to try and thread it through there, and up to the bowlers to try and keep the lines that will bring them into play. What year was the Aegeus Bowl first? Because I remember that pitch used to be very spicy when it was just bedding in. It takes, they say, about 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years to actually get pitches just the way they want them. As Pelaqueo bowls, and forward comes Mendes tentatively, playing around the front pad, and out to mid-on it goes.
Another great venue as well, that, isn't it? They've done a fantastic job there. I mean, their facilities now down there, are very good. They've got their practice ground, their nursery ground next to it, obviously the golf course around it, the hotel. They built that up into a fantastic sporting venue now.
I remember the first
you got
time.
You got wickets.
No,
did you?
no,
I thought you could tell me a story about a 5 or an 8 for or something like that.
Daft. No. I remember why we loved going down there, because word had got around. As Pelacueo bowls and Mendes turns it around the front pad, wants a single. Matthews turns him back, and he's exactly right to do so because square leg was coming in, lurking in that position, and there is no run. The end of the over, by the way, 13 gone, 76 for 3. The word had got around on the county circuit, and you'd have been aware that the dressing rooms had jacuzzis. that was just, mesmerising to county cricketers who are used with wooden benches and the odd locker here and there. But Hampshire, it didn't matter if you won or lost the game, you could enjoy a jacuzzi at the end of it. Paul, some more from you on Sri Lanka being 76 for 3 after 13, and then Natalie Germanos will take over from me.
Yeah, a good piece of bowling this from Pretorius and Fualoenko. I think they've done an excellent job. They've just looked to land the ball on and around the off stump as much as they possibly can and bowled a good line and length here.
Pretorius past the umpire now, and he's defending a ball that looks like it just kept a little bit lower than he might have expected. Matthews, he's yet to get off the mark. Crystal Mendes 6 from 11, 76 for 3 in the 14th. Were you talking about jacuzzis?
Yeah, Charlie had
warm.
this. He was talking about the fact that the Ageas Bowl they have at Southampton, they have these lovely jacuzzi baths in the changing room, and that was the highlight of his trips there.
I think there's one at the Titans as well, as Pretorius is over the wicket into Matthews. He clips it straight towards mid-wicket. Titans in Pretoria at Centurion. I think there's one in that dressing room
I think you're absolutely right. I think there is.
See, now, as soon as I heard about jacuzzi, it was something warm. I got interested.
I see. Most bowlers would have stories about their 5-fers and their 6-fers and wickets to bowl on, but unfortunately Charlie doesn't have too many stories like that. It's a shame.
Pretorius over the wicket into Matthews, and he's defending. Yeah, I noticed when he was talking about the ground itself and describing how it was sort of set out and saying that the gym is still there, he kind of brushed over that and went to something else. Didn't want to talk about his days in the gym.
No, do you know what? It's really interesting, and I've been waiting for the opportunity, and this story may take a few minutes to unfold between balls, but there was a shirt hanging up in our office at Edgbaston with Dagnall on the back of it, which I'll come back to in a moment.
Slip still remains in place for Matthews. He's facing Pretorius, still can't get off the mark as he defends.
Our commercial marketing team have been collecting shirts from when coloured clothing first came into being in county cricket, and they've got a selection of lots of people's shirts hanging up on this rail, and they were looking at them yesterday, and one of Charlie's shirts was hanging up there, and they picked it up, and one of the guys put it on, and it was absolutely massive. It was huge.
2 balls remain in the 14th over. 76 for 3. Matthews is edging down towards third. He was squared up a little bit and gets a thick edge for a run to finally get off the mark. 77 for 3.
And I said there is no way in the world that Charlie Dagnall, when he played, was that big. He wasn't that big. Honestly, it was huge. It was like a tent on this lad wearing it yesterday. And so I said, is it one that he gave to the club? Because other players had given, and they said no, they'd got that one off eBay for £8.50.
Last ball of the 14th over, and in the end Mendes will defend. This is a really good passage of play for South Africa between Pretorius and Pelacueo. 14 overs gone, 77 for 3.
But the plan is that next time Charlie is in Edgbaston, and we're hoping he's in there for the England game on Sunday against India, that they're going to get him to sign it, because all the other great players of Warwickshire County Cricket Club have signed the shirt, so it'd be nice to get him to sign it and add it to the rail. You're absolutely right. Getting back to this game, I think they've bowled really well, the South Africans, haven't they? The last 4 overs in particular, they've just been very consistent, which they weren't at the start. They've been very consistent with their lines and their lengths, more importantly.
And they've still got Tahir to come in as well to do some bowling. Now, Pelacueo and Pretorius know each other pretty well. They've had some good times together, bowling together for South Africa in tandem, and batting together too. Hashim Amla still remains at first slip, Peklokwaya running in towards Matthews, who's on one at the moment, and he's driving off the back foot, just flicking it through the offside down towards extra cover. Timing on this is very good as it races down towards the boundary, but Morris will haul it in on these big boundaries, and they'll get 3, 80 for 3. How many threes have we had today? We've had a few already.
We've had 3. We had 2 in the first 2 overs, and that's the 3rd of the day.
You're surprised me. I thought we'd have more than that.
I also thought we'd have more than that. It just seems
I thought you were going to say 8 or 9 then. I don't know why I thought that.
I was looking. I thought, no, yeah, there were only the 2 so far.
Mendes has a little look at the field. Got a slip in place. 3rd is on the boundary. Backward point. There's cover, extra cover. Mid-off is up. Mid-on is up. So is mid-wicket. Peklokwaya into Mendes, and he's pulling, not timing it. And it's straight towards mid-wicket in the inner ring. 128 kilometres an hour from Peklokwaya. He's a bowler with a lot of different slower balls. He bowls the knuckle ball. He bowls the one that comes out the back of the hand as well. A few different variations, and generally has very good control. His first 3 games in the World Cup he bowled beautifully, but had an off day against New Zealand, and unfortunately it made a little bit of a difference for South Africa, even though the batters didn't put enough runs on the board. Fielders walk in with the bowler Peklokwaya into Mendes, and he's defending.
Yeah, very skillful bowler. You're absolutely right. He does have good variations, and he's one of those that you need to be watching the whole time, because he mixes it up well, mixes pace well, mixes the variations well. Very, very skillful bowler. And it is unusual, you're absolutely right, it is unusual for him to have an off day, because he's one of the most consistent going around, isn't he? Yeah,
he's very consistent. He generally he will get you a wicket or 2. He may not get you 4-fers and 5-fers, but he'll get you a wicket or 2. Generally keeps it pretty quiet in terms of net run rate as well. Mendes facing Peklokwaya, reaches for a very wide delivery, so wide it's called a wide outside the off stump at 127 kilometres an hour or 70 miles per hour, whichever one you prefer.
He would definitely be one of those guys you'd like to bowl with, because he's going to get you wickets. He's going to force batsmen into making mistakes. If he bowls tight, you come on the other end and you get a couple in the right place, there's a chance you're going to pick up a wicket. So I think he's a very good bloke to bowl a partnership with. Tahir
has had some good partnerships with him, and so has Tahir has also had good partnerships with Pretorius as well, where Pretorius just keeps it tight at one end, and then Tahir can just bowl naturally and take wickets. He stands at 3rd on the boundary at the moment as Mendes comes forward and he's defending. Interesting change of tactics as well from Sri Lanka's point of view. They've said, well, we've lost 3 wickets, probably ones that we shouldn't have. And they've decided, all right, let's change mode here. Feels like they've changed down a gear or 2.
They have. And it's not... We were talking the other day at Leeds, when they got into a similar sort of position, they went almost into, look, we've lost wickets, we've lost 3 wickets, we're not going to lose any more, we're just going to bat a period of time here, we're not really going to look to be too busy, we're just going to occupy the crease and then try and pick the run rate up later.
Mendes on 6 from 15 deliveries is defending yet again. That's sort of test match style at the moment from Mendes.
And as I say, it was a very deliberate tactic against England in the previous game. I think they've worked out that they haven't got the depth of batting in this side. They can't really afford to lose another wicket at this stage. And so therefore these two are going to be looking just to bat a period of time, maybe 10 overs, 12 overs, and look just to bat. Make sure they stay at the crease, get the pace of the pitch. It's a dangerous game if you do that and then you get out. You put yourself really on the back foot.
Last ball of the 15th over. Mendes defending yet again. Taps away to the leg side. He calls his partner through for the run. The underarm throw at the non-strikers then misses. Matthews was keen for the run. Mendes not so much. It was a big stutter and possibly a missed opportunity for South Africa. 82 for 3. So in that little passage of play, they've added 15 runs in the last 5 overs for the loss of 1. So little slow period for Sri Lanka. Batting to come, Jeevan Mendes, Dhananjaya De Silva, Tessera Pereira. Tessera Pereira, before he came to South Africa, had a very good record against the South Africans, in particular with both bat and ball, actually. Good strike rate. He had hit some big runs against South Africa, done it very quickly, bowling as well. He'd had actually a really good record. So wouldn't be surprised if maybe they tried him next, possibly.
Yeah, he's one that they have thrown up the order from time to time when they've got a bit stuck, because he's a good striker of the ball. He hits a long ball, as you say. He's a very powerful, he's a big fella. Panda is his nickname in the team, and he is a big fella, and he hits the ball a long way. But there isn't Jivan Mendes first ball in the last game. There isn't a great deal of, as I say, not a great deal of confidence or runs to come. Issa Udana can bat. He's a decent striker. Saranga Lakmal, Lasith Malinga, not too much from them too. So if they get 10 or 15 each, they'd be quite happy with that. But there isn't a great deal, and it's, as I say, it's a difficult balance to get sometimes as a batting group here. You get yourself into a position where you've lost a couple of wickets, you've got to rebuild, and they know that they can't afford to lose too many more. But it is a dangerous game when you start to get into that defensive mindset. To then come out of that, someone like Imran Tahir comes on, you allow him to settle, you allow him to bowl, and he settles into a rhythm. It's very difficult then to change gears and then start to go up a gear again. That's quite a difficult thing to do.
And as you say, you lose a wicket now, so many overs still to go, and you don't really have that depth. How do you find a way then to get up to a total, which when we first saw this wicket in the morning, saw them playing, we're thinking 300.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key thing is being busy and actually looking to rotate the strike and getting singles. So rather than
just not doing that now.
Absolutely, no, they're just burying the ball at the moment, aren't they? You know, it's just a forward defensive, hitting it straight back, not looking to knock it into a gap and get a single. And I think that's the one thing that they will probably be needing to think about. Angelo has played enough cricket, he's got enough experience. He should really be saying, let's look just to get 4 singles and over, knock the ball into gaps. When you're doing that and you're looking to be positive in your movements, you're looking to be busy, you knock it into gaps for singles, you then put a bit of pressure on the bowler, and then they bowl one slightly fuller, you time it away for 4 because it is a fast outfield, you time it away, you get 4 for it, and very easily you can build your score and rotate your strike and put the bowlers back under a little bit of pressure. At the moment, South Africa will be very happy and very content that they're actually just being allowed to run up, land the ball on a decent length and bend down and pick it back up again. It's been blocked back to them.
Just wonder if Angelo Matthews' hamstrings can handle the quick singles between the wickets.
He won't want too many quick singles like that, I can assure you. That is not his forte, running fast between the wickets.
Definitely hasn't been through his career, but he is a fantastic player, and if he gets going, South Africa might find him tough to stop on what looks like a really good wicket. Players have finished their drinks break, and South Africa, having bowled 15 overs, have got Sri Lanka 82 for 3. Dimuth Karunaratne was the first to go, caught by Faf du Plessis of the bowling of Rabada for naught. Kusal Pereira made 30 from 34. He was bowled by Sri Lanka 82 for 3. And then Avishka Fernanda, caught by Karunaratne, was the first to go, caught for 30.
Quick reminder of Angelo Matthews' form in this World Cup so far. Started the tournament with 2 ducks, then he made 9 against Australia, and then that 85 not out of 115 balls in the win against England.
That was a big innings. It was a very big innings for Sri Lanka, keeping their hopes alive. They're on 6 points in the tournament. South Africa on 3. Drinks break done. Pretorius with ball in hand will continue. He's into Mendes with the slip still in place. He's driving in the air, but it falls short of point. Kwame Mbangwa is back with us. Good afternoon, Kwame. It is afternoon yet. No, yes? No, not yet.
Not yet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's afternoon somewhere.
True. Yeah, in South Africa, I guess.
Yeah. So I suppose it's evening somewhere too.
It is. That too. Well, hello. I think will be the safe one to go with. It's been some sort of a comeback for South Africa. I got to say, it's gifted. It's kind of been a gifted scenario for South Africa.
Mendes on 7 from 18 is driving. That's out towards a wide mid on the misfield. In the end means that they can get through for the run. Hendricks is on the field at the moment. To see who he's on the field for. Just having a look around to see the field. He's just come on as a substitute fielder during that drinks break. See JP Dumini's on the field. Faf du Plessis standing at mid-off. Petlaquire down a fine leg. Rabada is still on the field as well.
Tahir
is not in the field, which he's been fielding at third for a little while. Maybe he's just gone off for a little short break.
Maybe to warm his fingers up.
Pretorius over the wicket into Matthews, playing it straight towards mid-wicket. Morris fields.
It's been good from Pretorius. He started off, and just like what was done prior to him coming into the attack. The ball was sort of full and short on the pads, outside off, and they were all over the place, really, South Africa. And he came on and first over, I think, also kind of leg side and offside. And since then, he's looked to bowl quite straight, which has served him really well.
83 for 3 at the moment, and Matthews leaves a pretty wide delivery, but goes through at a good height towards the keeper. 130 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, his medium pace is Dwayne Pretorius, and so he has to be very accurate. That's what he brings just about every single game that he'll play. Unless there's a bit of nibble on the surface, then he needs to be right on the stumps and be giving the batsman absolutely nothing to work with.
He gathers and bowls now into Matthews, just taking a step forward and defending. Yeah, Pereira, I mean, we spoke about it when he was batting and we were on air together, how he loves the width. And when South Africa fed him that quite a bit, then eventually Pretoria said, okay, hang on a second, let me just bowl it straight and see what happens. And inside it onto the stumps. It was a good line to Pereira.
Yeah, and essentially he's continually looking to try and flail the ball through the offside, and if there's any semblance of width, then that's what he does.
Last ball of the 16th over, and Matthews is forced to defend. So 83 for 3, just a single off that over. Mendes 8 from 19, Matthews 4 from 13.
Yeah, and then also in bowling, I think we're sitting together and we're talking about Avishka Fernando, about how good he is as a player to watch, and he plays some really nice shots. And I was talking about that short arm jab that he likes to play onto the onside, and he in effect got out to that shot because Pretorius, lesser pace, he thinks he can get onto it. Even if it's not that short, he can make it so and just play the jab and hit it onside. Yeah, it didn't quite get there. It wasn't short enough. And what's happened, and that's why I say the position has been donated really by Sri Lanka. They started so well, good, and have been good actually in the power play throughout the tournament. In the first 10 overs, they've kind of done the best of all the teams, but their middle order has struggled. It's kind of, been a real struggle for them. Once they lose one, they seem to lose 2 and 3.
Rabada's back into attack. He's over the wicket in towards Mendes, who's driving straight towards mid-off. Not too often we see Rabada coming back in the 17th over.
Yeah, and it's not too often, though, that he'll bowl just 4, is it?
Yeah.
Up at the front. Yeah. He also struggled. He had a struggle of it up at the front, full tosses, and yes, he got a wicket off the first ball, but since that kind of full cut away offside and hit off the pads as well. Yeah, real mixed bag from South Africa at the start.
He has 1 for 26. Mendes defending towards the leg side. He's sort of gone into test match mode at the moment, Kusal Mendes.
Yeah, I don't mind that Rabada comes back and with Faf du Plessis thinking, take wickets, especially because this is a consolidating partnership, and Matthews 4 from 13. Mendes, as you say, seems to have gone into test match mode, but he's not got much. He's not been given a whole lot, and whilst he prods around and looks to try and get himself going, fair enough to attack him with Rabada and look to take the wicket.
Kusal Mendes has just asked for a towel to come out. I'm not too sure if he's got something in his eyes that maybe sunblock's gone into his eyes and it's burning a touch or something, but he's just asked for a towel to wipe his face. Umpire just very closely having a little word as if to say, well, let's not waste any time here. It just looks like maybe there was something that's gone into his eye, but maybe it's a sunblock.
Contact lens issues.
Would you use a towel to wipe your eyes with contacts? I don't know. I don't wear contacts, so I don't know.
Neither do I.
I don't know. Wrong people to talk about it.
You wipe tears, I guess.
Rabada passes the umpire into Mendes, who's playing the straight towards JP Germany at backward point. That also means that the way they're playing at the moment, South Africa have that luxury of keeping the slip in place all the time.
Yeah, well, I think if you brought Rabada back, you'd kind of expect that you'd be somewhat attacking, and outside edge, you wouldn't want that to be sort of going into vacant areas, so slip is logical to have him in place.
Strong offside field as well for Mendes, who pulls now backward a square on the leg side, but it goes down towards Pretorius, who comes off the boundary to do the fielding. Just a run. Mendes to 9, 84 for 3 in the 17th.
What the good start does, though, is it buys this pair some time. They don't have to be trying to, go like a train. Essentially, what they don't want is a case where they've lost, 2 and 3 wickets, and in a clump. 2 batsmen who are going well, and now they've lost them. They really do need to rebuild.
Matthews on 4 is taking a step forward and guiding it straight towards extra cover. For Matthews, they put the sweeper on the boundary on the offside.
Yeah, and let's remember that it's one side that is still trying to get it into the quarter-final.
Semi-final.
Correct, semi-final. You're not going to get in, you're not going to get a score on the board by having a whoosh early and, losing many wickets. So, yeah, good of them to sort of try and consolidate.
Last ball of the over. Matthews turns this away to the leg side. There's lots of space there for the run at the end of the 17th over. 85 for 3. Rabada now has bowled 5 overs, 1 for 28. Kusal Mendez 9, Matthews 5. Yeah, they wouldn't want to be losing too many wickets, especially with their batting lineup. Tommy, I'll leave it with you, and then you'll be joined by Scott.
Yeah, a good idea to sort of try and rebuild with singles and try and rotate strike. Make sure you don't give South Africa another wicket. Make sure that you can form some sort of partnership. It does look, though, that Kusal Mendez is having issues with his eyes. And right now, as you come in, Scott, it's eye drops in.
Indeed, yeah. I don't know if he wears contact lenses or not. But,
yeah, that's what I suggested to Natalie, but I don't know.
Something just scratching around in the eye.
Yeah, maybe just some irritation.
17 overs gone, 85 for 3 here at the Riverside, Durham. Doesn't the ground look an absolute picture as well? The first game here of the World Cup in the northeast of England. 2 more fixtures to come. Sri Lanka are back here on Monday against the West Indies. And then England play New Zealand here as well. So they have 3 games here at the Riverside, Durham. And there's a good crowd in. The temporary stand out to our right-hand side is pretty full. There's a 2-tier stand just to the right of the media centre. And the ground with smaller stands out to our left, just curving around the edge of the perimeter. And then the Paul Collingwood Pavilion out to our left-hand side.
Son of the soil.
Indeed. Freedom of the northeast, Mr. Collingwood. Morris will come bounding back in and bowls a good delivery to Matthews, and that's edged. And in the end, it's Amla at first slip, diving low to his left. Stops the ball, but little edge off the bat of Matthews, just in front of Amla. Score remains on 85 for 3.
Ooh, just short, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ever so slightly short. And I guess it's been quite difficult for them because some have carried quite comfortably to Quinton de Kock, so you can't really get too close. And it was Pretorius bowling before Morris back in. I like this from Faf du Plessis. It looks like he's attacking and searching for wickets.
Here comes Morris with a wicket bowls down the leg side, gathered by de Kock. Umpire spins around, arms stretched out wide to signal an extra run on the board. 86 for 3. It was a short burst, wasn't it, from Morris? Just 2 overs first up with Rabada, and then out of the attack, comes back in for the start of the 18th over, keeping his bowlers nice and fresh, perhaps.
You earn your overs. You don't just get to bowl them, and he wasn't bowling well, and so was whipped out the attack. So it's kind of an admonishment to take him out the attack. He's back now.
Well, it's his response. Bowling this time to Matthews, who's neatly forward in defence and playing with a straight bat. Pushed back down the pitch, gathered by Morris off his own bowling. No run, 86 for 3.
What he did get was a little bit of swing up at the front, but then didn't show a great deal of control, which is a little bit odd because since coming into the side, that's what he's done. He has been very good with his control, whether it's bowling early. Later on, you can get clattered a little bit, and that's kind of happened perhaps early on in the tournament. But generally, he's been on song, Morris, and got wickets too.
Matthews waits for him, and turned into the onside of a thickish inner edge of the bat out to mid-wicket, no run. He's certainly enjoyed bowling to left-handers, hasn't he, Morris, in this competition?
Yeah, in this competition, which is it's interesting that because he's an outswinger to right-handers and generally prefers to go that way. And when it comes to left-handers, it then gets a bit more difficult for him, and he loses the swing back to them and kind of pushes the ball across. On this trip, it's been that little bit different.
just stretching the back of his hamstrings. There's a change of bat required for Matthews. He's not happy with the wood. So the 12th man comes out carrying 2 options. And he's quickly got on with it there. Matthews didn't have to wait too long. He identified the bat he wanted. Jogs back to his crease. 12th man disappears, carrying the bat that he's no longer happy with.
And 3 others.
Yes, indeed. Here comes Morris again. He's a big tall man with a black sweatband on his right wrist. He's in and bowling to Matthews, who's angling it off his pads into mid-wicket. And it's fielded, and there's no run. Nice tight start by Morris. Good comeback so far. 4 balls of his 3rd over, back into the attack.
A nice period, though, for South Africa. Very much one that they needed, and they'd have had a good chat at the drinks break, and the captain laying down the law, because the first part of the game was below par. They let Sri Lanka get away. Were probably fortunate to get a couple of those wickets.
Morris into Matthews, again just hopping up onto his toes and just hurries him up a fraction. Defends safely enough to mid-on, no run.
Yeah, and though South Africa are out of the tournament, it's still important for them to put in a good performance. And I'm thinking very much about a rebuild of the side, and to see who it is who stands up and can kind of be worthy of being the core of the team when those who are on their way have gone.
Morris runs away from his final ball of the over, comes in and balls to Matthews, and defending just the top of off stump and playing it safely to short extra cover. That's a good first over back into the attack for Morris. Score's moved on to 86 for 3, 18 gone, Mendes 9, Matthews on 5. I guess that's what the captain wants, isn't it? Certainly what the coach wants. You want to see a bit of character, you want to see a response. You've still got games to play. You've got supporters, some South African supporters in our hotel this morning with their shirts on and looking forward to the game, and the people pay a lot of money to come out and watch their side play. You have a responsibility, don't you?
100%. That's how much effort you must give every single time.
So,
Pommy mentioned the South African comeback, as it were. Yeah, in the 8 overs since the end of the power play, they've only conceded 19 runs.
Good comeback. Maybe words were said in a little team huddle. Felacuero. Oh no, it's Rabada. Rabada comes in and bowls. He's left alone past the off stump by Mendes, just onto his toes and gathered by Quinton de Kock. Just leaning to his right, he takes the catch, tosses the ball out to JP Dumini. It'll loop its way back round to Rabada once more. 86 for 3. Mendes 9, Matthews on 5 here at the Riverside in Durham. If you've just joined our coverage, wicket with the first ball of the game. The Sri Lankan captain caught by Du Plessis off this man Rabada. Strides in and bowls again. Oh, it's a ball that has a little bit of extra bounce, and Mendes on top of it, pushing safely into the offside. No run.
Phonetics. I'm going to help you.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to help you.
Okay.
Pet.
Look.
Why? Oh.
Petlaquayo.
Fantastic.
Petlaquayo.
You've got it exactly right.
Petlaquayo.
That's exactly it.
See, I was watching him.
Yeah.
On a little Twitter video, pronouncing his name as Mendes waits for Rabada, who's bowling to him. He's forward in defence and there's no run. And I was rehearsing.
Were you?
And I've got it obviously terribly wrong.
No, not terribly wrong, because
Okay.
I reckon what happens is you read it in your mind.
Yeah.
You don't hear it, you
No.
read it.
Yeah.
So if you're reading it, then I can kind of put something in front of you to make you read it, and you read it and you got it exactly right.
That's worked a treat, isn't
Well,
it?
there you go.
I'm very, very grateful. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I want him to come back into the attack. Rabada bowls. Mendes gets forward, squeezes defensively out into the offside, and there's no run. 86 for 3.
Paul Collingwood, you're talking about his stand here on the left. He's a Sunderland supporter, isn't he? Football. Are you a football man?
Yeah, I am. I don't know who he supports. Is it?
I think it's Sunderland.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Who's your team?
Well, you see, I'm from Burnley, so I support Burnley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's just say, well, I'm from Burnley. I support
Yeah,
Sunderland.
if you're born in Birmingham, you can't support anybody else. It's the rules. Rabada in to Mendes, and that's turned into the onside. It's off the pads,
rules.
out to square leg, no run. It's the rules.
Okay. Yeah. Well, his side is Sunderland. I know they don't like Newcastle, but there's Angel of the North.
Yep.
You drive along. We're staying in Newcastle, by the way. Come this way, and so drive past it. Malcolm MacDonald.
Yeah, he played for Newcastle.
He did, in England, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And taxi driver liked him.
Rabada comes over the wicket and bowls, and Mendes just guiding the ball down to third man. He gets through for a single. And moves into double figures as well. He moves up to 10. That's 19 overs gone. Sri Lanka 87 for 3 after 90.
Yeah, not too bad this from Sri Lanka. Yes, can't get away, but I think it's more important that they just try and get a partnership together. I'll say again, their really good start where they got freebies to put away has bought them this time, and it's so important for this middle order to build and to just get some sort of score on the board, which will put some pressure on South Africa when they're batting.
I guess a bit of uncertainty because it's the first time we've played here, so it's a new pitch. I guess it brings a little element of uncertainty when you're not quite sure how it's played so far.
And what a good score is. So because you get a really good start up at the front, you perhaps chase more than you should be chasing in terms of what you're trying to set as a score.
Here comes Morris. One slip, short extra cover, third man, fine leg, over the wicket and balls, off the back foot, sliced by Mendes, out towards deep backward points. Wants two, and he's made his mind up quickly there that there's a couple. And he moves to 12, Sri Lanka 89 for 3.
Yeah, why I was asking about, I was telling you about Newcastle, is because we drove past the Angel of the North, and a taxi driver said when it was unveiled, the next morning, so overnight, right? The next morning it had number 9 on its back, spray painted and Shearer written across.
He is the Angel of the North, is he? Morris over the wicket. Played off the face of the bat, just rolled down to slip where Amla fields, and there is no run. 89 for 3. It's a very impressive structure, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you get up close to it, it's huge.
It's huge when you look at it from miles.
That's true,
you just wonder, how is that thing? Who's done that? It's brilliant. It's humongous. And therefore, the question would be, how did they get up there to spray paint the 9 and the sheer on the back of it?
Yeah, that's a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of enthusiastic Newcastle supporters trying to put sheer on the back. Mendes again guiding down to third man, just off the face of the bat, just using the pace really off the ball there. Mendes steering it into the ground, gets a single, moves to 13. Sri Lanka 90 for 3.
Yeah, I wondered, turning up to the ground here, what it would do for Sri Lanka. Because if you think about the fact that when they start the tournament, they're in disarray, they changed captains, there's a whole lot. The team has changed. There are people who haven't played for ages, and and they're kind of, in terms of their selection, they're selecting guys who you probably think should be in the team. But I wonder what it'll do, the fact that they have a glimpse here.
Morris bowls, dabbed into the onside, but for no run. Matthews remains on 9, the score on 90 for 3.
Yeah, and a glimpse in terms of the opportunities you get into a semi-final, and whether it kind of galvanizes them, whether it makes them sort of feel they're under pressure and kind of they wilt under that, or they'll kind of take that on board and kind of wake up, be inspired. And this little period where things have been particularly difficult, it's quite good the way they've gone. Matthews and Mendes.
As Matthews waits, Morris moves in, balls, flicked down to backward square leg just for a single. Matthews moves to 6, the score advances on to 91 for 3.
Yeah, it kind of shows me kind of a bit of resolve in that, and he's a former captain, is Mendes, and he continually, Matthews is continually talking to Mendes to, I suppose, calm him down, remove all risk and just play what there is. There's a big element that will be in their minds as this middle order tries to get through this, and that they haven't played Imran Tahir well. They just never do. And so whenever it is he comes into the attack, that is the potential danger and could kind of wreck their chances.
Final ball of the 20th over. Morris bowls full and off stump, and Mendes just clips it to mid-on, but there's no run. It completes over number 20, 91 for 3. Matthews 6, and Mendes unbeaten on 13. Well, I watched them against New Zealand in their first game of the competition, and you mentioned that the turmoil in terms of selection, it felt like a pretty scattergun approach to a competition. They looked all over the place in Cardiff against New Zealand, who cruised to a big victory. And to have got to this stage where they can go level on points with England in fourth is some turnaround.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, many will say if you are Sri Lanka, you would have liked to have a pop at Pakistan rather than have that rain out, and you'd have liked to have a pop at the West Indies because they're kind of faltered here and there. But the rain-outs have actually served them well, haven't they? And a bit of a paradox that in that with a side that's stuttering and there's no form in the middle order, you want them to get into the middle and play. They haven't played, and they're hoping that, you know, they kind of still will address those as they go along.
Well, this is an intriguing little period now, isn't it? As Imran Tahir comes into the attack for the first time. He's got Matthews on strike. How will they go about trying to negotiate his skills and his threats? Phil?
Yeah, Imran Tahir coming on now in the 21st over. The splits so far, the first 10, 67 runs, the next 10 brought 24.
Here he is. First ball is tossed up. It's a full toss, which is swatted through the onside by Matthews, but it's a field of sweeping round on the deep mid-wicket boundary, so just the 1 run for Matthews. He moves to 7. Sri Lanka 92 for 3. 1 slip in place. It's Amla at first. There's a short extra cover, short third man, short fine leg, short mid-wicket, and then the sweeper fielders out on the deep point boundary, deep square leg, and Imran Tahir has pushed his mid off and mid on right back towards the fence. This is dragged short this time, and it's Mendes who's swivelling back and pulling the ball behind square on the leg side. Not the most attractive of shots you're likely to see, but effective for Mendes, who managed to drag it out towards deep backward square for 4. He moves to 17. Sri Lanka 96 for 3.
You know, I was joking a little earlier with Natalie when he wasn't on the field to here, and I said he's gone to warm his fingers. But that's a full toss first up, went for 1, lucky with that, and then that's 1 dragged really short as a second ball.
Is it third time lucky? Well, this is better. That's a really good delivery. That brings Mendes forward, and that's teasing him, and that's beating him, and through to de Kock. He's found his mojo now.
Yeah, and what it says is kind of just trying to get used to the ball, and early release, late release, and trying to bowl his first 2 balls.
Here in, worked by Mendes through the onside with plenty of bottom hand, but straight to short mid-wicket, no run. Well, his fingers have warmed up now, haven't they, after that full toss and that drag down. Next 2 have been good from Tahir. In again, and then just clips it straight to mid-wicket. Again, there's no run.
Yeah, I'll say this is the game for Sri Lanka. If they play him decently, so if they can keep him out and sort of have him go at about 4.
In over the wicket, balls left alone by Mendes. Good stride down the pitch, withdraws the bat through to de Kock. No run. That completes his first over. It's gone for 5. End of the 21, and Sri Lanka in 96 for 3. Mendes 17, Matthews on 7.
Yeah, I stand corrected, and I'm sure Phil would probably tell us, but I think he has the most success, Imran Tahir, in terms of wickets taken against any side against Sri Lanka. So in his mind, he'll be pretty happy, and you know, he'll operate, I don't know, 6, 7 or 8 up at the front, maybe even 10 on all the way through. But du Plessis and his bowler will be confident that they can run through this middle order with him.
Thank you, Pommy. Good stuff. Leave us for the time being. Mel Jones is going to come back and join us. 21 overs gone. 96 for 3. Here at the Riverside in Durham. Sri Lanka batting first. South Africa won the toss. Invited Sri Lanka to bat first. Morris comes over the wicket. 1 short. Clubbed over mid-on. Down towards the boundary in front of us. 4 runs. A little no frills in truth, as that ball was chipped over mid-on. Down towards the boundary for Matthews. That brings up the 100 for Sri Lanka. 100 for 3 in the 22nd. Matthews had moved to 11, and he kind of clubbed it with a little skip down the pitch, up and over mid-on, where Pretorius is fielding, and down to the boundary to bring up 3 figures for Sri Lanka, much to the delight of the Sri Lanka supporters, who are waving their flags out in the upper tier of the stand to our right-hand side with bright blue sky behind them. Morris over the wicket balls. Forward comes Matthews, just jabs it into the offside. And there's no run. A very good afternoon there.
Good afternoon. I'm liking this little battle here too, because what they've done really well here, South Africa, particularly from this end, and Rabada's followed of late, but particularly in terms of Morris and Pretorius, they've just hit that slightly back of length, sort of the ball going through just fractionally above the top of off stump. They've kept it outside the off stump because both Mendes and Matthews are very leg side dominant players, so it forced Matthews to move down the pitch to create some pace and create the length that he wanted.
Morris breezes back in, ball just back of a length, and Matthews up onto his toes and works it back from where it came from. There's no run.
So then the next delivery, what Morris did, he went fuller again, but took pace off it, as if to say, well, if you're going to come down again, you're going to have to try and work and keep your shape, because there's not as much pace to go straight down the ground, when he knows that Matthews is particularly looking to go to square as much as possible. And then on that delivery, drag the length back a little bit more. So he's saying to Matthews, I'm not just going to keep going in that channel if you're going to move around the crease a little bit. So there's a little bit of gamesmanship happening out in the middle at the moment.
Well, games within games.
This is it.
Good fun to watch. Morris balls, and Matthews with an angled bat clips it into the onside. 2 mid-wicket, and there's no run. The dot ball, 100 for 3. Matthews on 11. Mendes on 17.
And I think he's up to about 8 maidens now within this tournament, Chris Morris. So he's worked exceptionally well at keeping an end very, very tight. I think probably if you go back with who he's bowling with, that's probably maybe been one of the areas that's been a little bit of a disappointment for South Africa, is trying to create and maintain that pressure for longer periods. But he's certainly done an exceptional job with dot ball pressure right throughout the tournament so far.
It's a good comeback after a couple of slightly shaky first 2 overs. Over the wicket, balls. Oh, and he's chopped on Matthews. And Morris picks up his first wicket. 4 down now, Sri Lanka, in the 22nd over. Going for a big shot through the onside, trying to swat it out through mid-wicket. Big, dirty bottom edge back onto his stumps. He's gone for 11. Morris strikes. 1 ball left of this over. Sri Lanka are 100 for 4.
You could just feel it building here, because the very first delivery, this is exactly what he tried to do. Come down the wicket. On the first one, though, he kept his shape and he got the length that he wanted to be able to hit straight down the ground. On this occasion, shimmied down the wicket again, but angled bat. That was his downfall there. Didn't assess the length that he got. He could have easily bailed out and dropped it at his feet. He didn't. He went through with the expansive shot, got the inside edge. South Africa get the wicket.
Indeed they do. Change in the commentary box with 1 ball left to the 22nd over as Matthews makes his way off. Morris celebrates, as indeed do South Africa. Sri Lanka 100 for 4 with 1 ball to go of this over. A few extra thoughts, Mel, from you, and then we'll be joined by Charles Daniel.
I think that will be the frustration for the Sri Lankan fans, is from a senior player like Angelo Matthews, who's been around the world, played against some of the best bowlers in the world, produced some wonderful innings for Sri Lanka in all formats, is that his game plan to Chris Morris on this occasion was well below par. Yes, he got the boundary rate for the first ball of the over. You could sense, though, that Chris Morris was a little bit of counter-punching going on, just sussing each other out. Matthews wanted to go for the big knockout blow, and it went South Africa's way.
Well, it was interesting. I was just watching the way, this is very dreary, but I was watching the way that Angelo was setting up in this over, because it'd been a fairly attritional...
You've got me. Got me.
Okay, well, let's see if everyone else is with me. At 67-2 at the end of the power play, it had been pretty hard work for Sri Lanka to try and come back and just get themselves back into the game after some fairly innocuous dismissals. Now, I was watching the way Angelo Matthews was setting up there, and he was just opening his stance ever so slightly. A little shuffle from the back foot, and then followed on by the left, which just shed sense with the shot that he played over the top, and then just looking to take the game to Chris Morris. And so, in so doing, as Danjaya De Silva places his first ball from Morris, it's defended back up the pitch, and it's the end of the over. So Morris 1 for 23 off 5, 100 for 4 after 22 overs. Mendes is there on 17 from 38 deliveries, and De Silva yet to get off the mark. So yeah, just watching the way that his body language almost towards Chris Morris, you just felt that something was going to happen. It was time for him to maybe start taking it on. He felt as though maybe he'd got the pace of the pitch and gauged it. Obviously, now he's back in the hutch and it's not worked out for him. But his 11 off 29 deliveries, I think he probably just thought it was time to start accelerating gently.
Yeah, and there's two different ways of taking on the game, isn't there? And I think he was just thinking boundary, boundary.
Tahir continues from the Lumley end. His first delivery is a probing one, which Mendes plays out into the offside.
We were having a discussion earlier about the decisions that Faf du Plessis has been making throughout the World Cup, and I don't know if you're a Seinfeld watcher at all.
I used to a bit. If it was on, I would keep it on. As Tahir comes towards us with that angled run up, it's a wrong one which gets pulled into the onside. Just a single on offer for Mendes, 101 for 4.
There was an episode where George Costanza, who his life is just going pear-shaped, everything's going wrong, and so he decided on this one particular time that every decision he'd make the flip of it. He'd flip the thought process around, and it worked beautifully for him. He picked up the good-looking girl, he got a job, and sometimes I think that's about Faf at the moment, isn't it? Whatever you think, go the opposite and just see what happens. The
George Costanza of international captaincy, Faf du Plessis.
Because Imran Tahir decision is a big one for me.
Here is Tahir bowls, and an orthodox leg break is defended out into the offside.
Mendes does not have a good run against leg spin. So 206 runs, he's been out 13 times, he only averages 15.
Tahir. Once more tossing it up to Mendes, and lots of oohs and ahs around the bat. Maybe just trying to play on those stats that you've given us. South Africa will know that.
Correct.
101 for 4. Tahir spins himself a catch, comes towards us and bowls another full delivery, and cagily played by Danjai de Silva.
And Imran Tahir would know that. And he is a bowler who's been their prime bowler right throughout this tournament, their go-to person, would have been saying to Faf, as soon as Mendes walked out to the middle, OK, I'm ready. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball.
He was just holding back and holding back and holding back like a coiled spring. Tahir comes in, bowls, and it's another wrong one, which gets turned smartly by Danjai de Silva out towards deep mid-wicket. Single taken, he's off from... sorry, that was Mendes.
But
takes a single.
He's faced like 38 deliveries already, and he's got himself in before Imran Tahir has come on to bowl. And I know it was probably seemed friendly a little bit, but even if it was just one or two overs, as soon as he came out, just put a little bit of pressure back on.
Well, I wonder if there's two ways of looking at it. There's that way, with Sri Lanka 102 for 4 at the end of the 23rd, or, he's not giving away. So if he does have to post a total, he's got to go out and try and attack Imran Tahir, and in that way, keeping him quiet before Tahir comes on could actually pose different problems for Sri Lanka itself.
This is why we're sitting here and not captaining our countries, probably, isn't it?
As Morris continues from the Finkel end, our end, bowls, it's turned into the onside by De Silva. Might get a couple of runs here as a long chase out from the boundary. And I think it's Rabada who's fielding down there, or is it Palahueo? Anyway, it's fielded, and 2 runs are taken. You see, the problem is, and I do have a problem, I'm wearing sunglasses now, I'm taking them off, and it's even worse, is that the gold South African numbers,
awful numbers
on the back of a light green top are very, very difficult to try and spot. So I can see
it was allowed, actually.
Well, yeah. So my apologies if I make a mistake or two, as Sri Lanka 104 for 4. Morris comes in, bowls, and that doesn't really get up, and De Silva on the back foot, just a toe end of the bat, just plays it back up the pitch, and there is no run. Who was the strange sort of character in, was it
Kramer?
I was going to say Kruger, but it's Kramer. I think that would be our style of captaincy in international cricket.
Random.
Very random.
Yeah, I could go with that.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that? Who knows?
Out of the box thinking, they call it now, I think.
Yes.
104.
It's in vogue.
It is. Morris, number 2 on his back, I can see that. Runs away from us, and that's defended stoutly and resolutely by Danjai de Silva. Onto the back foot he goes. But Mendes 18 off 40. De Silva is 3 off 8. Granted, he's just come to the crease, but again, South Africa now with Tahir with still many, many overs to bowl. I just wonder if actually Faf du Plessis has maybe played this right. He wants people to try and get after Tahir. That's where he's at his most dangerous. 4 in the offside ring. As Morris turns at the top of his mark at the 30-yard circle in the sunshine, bounds away from us, and that's left alone. Goes through at a thigh height to Quentin du Coq. There's no great carry in this pitch. There's no great pace in it at all, and that's what we've seen, a lot of inside edges that have been bowled. Angelo Matthews departing like that, and just difficult to... It's one of those pitches you've got to get yourself in.
Correct, yep.
New batsman won't score freely, but Mendes has done that. He's been there 40 deliveries, even though he's at the non-strikers end now. And really, Sri Lanka posting a decent total is pretty much down to him. Here's Morris, bowls, and De Silva leaps up while he plays a back foot defensive. Out into the offside it goes.
And you wonder what Sri Lanka, you'd love to be sitting with the team thinking about, and you know, so many times coin toss goes up and the captains go, oh, what are you looking for? How many runs do you want on the board? And you don't know until you get out there and you can actually, and you're reassessing constantly with your partner out in the middle, and your teammates will be sitting in the change room going, well, this is what we think potentially, and then another 5 over block goes past, and whether it's wickets or the changing conditions, you go, well, probably it's a little bit more like this. They're the discussions you'd love to be having with Sri Lanka at the moment of where they think is a competitive total.
And you don't want the game to sort of pass you by whilst you're discussing that, as Morris bowls, and once again that's defended by De Silva. Good lines from Chris Morris, just 1 run coming from that 24th over, so 104 for 4, sorry, 2 runs, my apologies. The first one was flicked away for a couple of runs. Mendes back on strike now. Imran Tahir, and this is the other aspect. I just saw on the big screen earlier on that South Africa were slightly behind the over rate, but now with the addition of Imran Tahir, they should catch up fairly quickly. But already they're ready for the next over. They've rushed round, trying to force and squeeze more pressure on Sri Lanka.
Owning the pace of the game is one of the most underrated, I think, concepts for a captain and for the leadership group, the wicket-keeper, just to say, right, we're on top here, we want to own this pace, let's get through it or let's slow it down.
Slip in place for Tahir, who tosses one up, and that's worked away by Mendes just to short fine leg where JP Duminy fields. But you're right, it's... I see so many sides, actually, who are on top, just sort of ooze to their fielding.
I think they overthink things sometimes as well.
Get in position, get ready, batsman catch them unawares. As Tahir bowls, one that just slightly turns a little bit after it bounces, but it's played well by Mendes, defending out into the offside, picking a gap and taking a single. 105 for 4.
And that's where I'd love to see more and more fielders. Just keep your eyes on your captain all the time, because they will dictate how quickly they want you to get into position. You'll know if they're not happy.
Tahir, big bushy beard, bowls, and forward comes De Silva. Wants a single, I think about a second, but not with Andili Pelacuello coming in from the deep.
And your captain shouldn't have to worry about you either. So if you've got your eyes on the captain all the time and you get into position quickly, then they know that. Then they don't have to stress about you, and that their mind can go on to the crux of the game. But if they're constantly looking up, going in the wrong position...
Tahir tosses one up, and it almost gets through the defences of Dhananjaya De Silva, who just plays it out into the offside.
Picked the wrong length there, didn't he? Played back to a ball that he should have been coming forward to.
Here's Tahir. Flat delivery, quicker delivery, turned around the front pad, and again he thought he was almost through. Imran Tahir just fancies this at the moment. 106 for 4, and this is the 25th over. Every ball is being greeted with gasps and yelps from close fielders. And bowls another full delivery, which is turned and fielded excellently at mid-wicket, diving away to the left-hand side, and there is no run. 2 runs coming from the over again. They're just going through these so quickly. We've already got to the halfway stage here. Sri Lanka 106 for 4. Kushal Mendes is 19, and Dhananjaya De Silva is 4 not out. Anything you may have missed, of course, any highlights, always available on the cricket section of the BBC Sport site and app. Phil Long.
15 overs since the power play. Sri Lanka have only added 39 runs.
And lost 2 wickets. So there is a change of bowling. Dwayne Pretorius is coming back, already has picked up 2 wickets as Pretorius, and again, fairly fortunate wickets to play on, and one that was caught by Faf du Plessis, just trying to force the ball away. He's bowled tidily as well, and I just wonder if Faf du Plessis is trying to get through his overs. He's already bowled 6, 2 for 21 he has. Still a wide slip in place as a full delivery gets driven very firmly by De Silva, who's looked, actually, even though he's scored 4 off 13, he's looked pretty positive at the crease. Most of the things are hitting the middle of the bat. The other thing about the other aspect of getting round, it stems from your keeper.
Yep.
As well.
Without a doubt.
Sort of leads the team in that respect. People feed off that. There's 4 in the offside ring, close in on De Silva, who defends once again. South Africa just content to hit the top of off stump here.
It's a patient game they're playing here. It's something we probably haven't seen a lot of from them. And all of a sudden, we talk about that owning of multiple overs, finding the right bowling partnerships. We had a change from Morris to Pretorius from our end at the moment to work in with Tahir. And Pretorius just gets through his overs just a little bit quicker, shorter runs.
De Silva waits, slightly crouched at the crease, and onto the back foot he is again and tries to force it away through the offside. But again, that ring of South African fielders in the offside, not allowing anything to get through.
And I think they like bowling to De Silva as well, as he's just come out. I think they feel as if they can probably get through the start of the over pretty well. They can get a single, maybe it might be another single, and then all of a sudden the over's gone. There's only 2 to it.
Well, absolutely. Sri Lanka has to be careful here. That
Massively.
It really doesn't pass them by, and suddenly there's 15 overs to go, and you've got to get a move on. As Pretorius in again. Good channel outside of the off stump once more. Almost a carbon copy of the previous deliveries, defended out into the offside. Wickets to fall so far. Karunaratne, first ball of the game, caught du Plessis, bowled Rabada for a golden duck, and then Avishka Fernando caught du Plessis, bowled Pretorius for 30. Kushal Perera bowled Pretorius, playing on an inside edge onto pad onto stumps. He also made 30, and Angelo Matthews was bowled by Chris Morris again. Another play on for just 11. Here's Pretorius, bowls on around middle and off stump, and this time is turned into the leg side, but again finds a fielder. What do you do if you're Sri Lanka here? How are you getting yourself out of this?
What's interesting is that you talk about letting the game drift here, and you feel you can go back to that Angelo Matthews wicket, and he probably sensed that the game, was just drifting a little bit, and South Africa were just controlling things. So he went on the attack to try and break it up, but then fell to doing that as well. That risk versus reward.
Pretorius past the umpire, bowls a full delivery, a tentative drive, only finds the fielder, and I think he's bowled a maiden. He has bowled a maiden. Well bowled, Dwayne Pretorius. Nothing, well, not excitingly quick. He's not done anything other than bowl the channel on and around the off stump, and he's brought out 6 defensive shots from Dhananjaya De Silva, who's now 4 not out off 18 deliveries, 26 gone. Sri Lanka 106 for 4.
And this will be the discussion now between Mendes and De Silva, is about how do we break this up. We know that Tahir's on, he's a tricky customer. We certainly don't want to lose a wicket to him, because that'll just void South Africa to no end, but we need to be able to get up and down the wicket a little bit. We didn't do it in the over before, so again you feel as if it's just building up to something's going to break at some point in stage during this Tahir over.
Here he comes again then from the Lumley end, and just turned his first delivery round that front pad, and again straight to mid-wicket. We've had quite a succession of dot balls at the moment. Not a great deal of action. Fairly full ground here at Chester Street, as a late cut is attempted by Kushal Mendes. Only finding Pretorius though at backward point.
Everyone's in the mix here for South Africa. Absolutely everyone looking for the sweep in the top edge. It could go to first slip, who has to run back.
If I'm running to here, let's bring Long on up. He's not looked like playing one down there, as a flatter delivery is turned into the leg side, and he does get a single. And 1 or 2 ironic round clapping of hands from around the ground as Sri Lanka moves to 107 for 4. Brings De Silva back on strike. But yeah, why have you Long on? He's not even looked like lofting it over there. Bring him up. Tempt him, dare him, almost.
Particularly Mendes, yep.
Tossed up by
ফিল্ডিং করলেন, অবশ্য একাধিক রান পেয়ে গেলেন ব্যাটসম্যান কুশল মেন্ডিস।
সহজ অ্যাপে নিশাটাকে রাইড কাফি কাছে টিকেট আর Get ready for the next battle. Round one. Fight. Round two. Fight. You win. Get ready for the next battle. Round one. Fight. You win. Round two. Fight. You win. Get ready for the next battle. Round one. Fight. Round 2. You win. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight. You win. Round 2. Fight. You win. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight. You win. Round 2. Fight. You win. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight! You lose. Round 2. Fight! You win. Final round. Fight. You win. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight. You win. Round 2. Fight. You win. Get ready for